East Hampton Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board work session of Tuesday, December 17th, 2024, our last work session of the year. Carol, if you could please read the roll call.
Present. Present.
Present.
Present.
Present. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So today we start our meeting with the public portion, and we ask you, since there's a nice crowd here and there's folks on the line, we're going to hold everyone to 3 minutes. Then we're going to move into, we have 5 topics. The first is bids with our purchasing director, Jeannie Carosa. Then we'll have the discussion on gross floor area, and that's going to be led by our principal environmental analyst in the planning department, Tyler Borsak. And I think what we'll do, which we've done in other zoning code discussions, you can speak up front at public portion, or you could wait until after the board has had the discussion. If you haven't signed up, we will ask for a show of hands in the room. The third topic is the potential acquisition of 72H properties, and that's going to be presented to us by the Director of Land Acquisition and Management, Scott Wilson, and our Housing Director, Eric Shantz. Then we have a PowerPoint on the fire risk of lithium batteries, and that will be led by Councilman Tom Flight and our Chief Fire Marshal, Dave Brown. And then lastly, Gloria Frazee will give us a presentation, a wrap-up of 2024 East Hampton Compost Program. That's followed by liaison reports and resolutions. So we're going to start with public portion, and we've got some folks that are already signed up. And the first on the list is Richard Feldman.
And everybody, before we start officially, I just want to let you know at the end of 3 minutes, you will hear this. And that will let you know that the time is up. I tried to make it the most polite version of a bell I could find. And
perfect. It reminds me of It's a Wonderful Life, right?
There we go.
All right, Richard, your 3 minutes start now.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed amendment to the GFA and in support of the proposed modification, which is less drastic by certain architects and other concerned citizens. We recently went through the plan development and approval process for our home in Hampton Dunes, which was and is 1,375 square feet, and it's being raised, it'll be modified to about a little less than 2,000 square feet. Under the proposed amendment, we wouldn't be able to do that. It would be limited to 1,635 feet. The difference is stark for us. We're a family, we live here full-time, although I can't say we're really Bonnickers yet, but we buy and shop local, we support local establishments like ARF, we buy at Brent's and the Old Stone Market egg sandwiches, we eat at Sam's. We have 3 boys, 39, 35, and 31. The principal change in the plans is converting a loft area into 2 bedrooms. Our sons and their significant others and wives will not visit us for extended time if they are living in open space with their families. We have put down our roots here. We are your demographic. We want to remain here, but won't if our children won't visit us for extended times. The drastic measure proposed would eliminate the possibility of having a development which does not really disturb any aesthetics. I agree that there should be changes. No one wants McMansions built. No one needs that blot on our area. We shop local on Main Street, although I try to discourage my wife from the pricier stores, but we are your demographic. We are involved, and we want to remain committed to the area, and the less drastic plan proposed, I think, does justice to that and affords the town the opportunity to curtail development in a reasonable approach.
Thank you, Richard.
I'm sorry, sir, I just missed your last name. I'm sorry.
Feldman, F-E-L-D-M-A-N.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is Vicki Lundin. Welcome, Vicki.
have to wait for the bell.
Nope.
No.
Good morning, Town Board. My name is Vicki Lundeen, and I'm a senior. I was so upset when listening to the last public comment during the December 10th work session in Montauk. There was so much misinformation that I said to myself, I had to come here today and give you the facts about what's going on at the senior center. I just had to be here. Abraham Lincoln said, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. The older we get, the more we realize the best things in life are not things that are material, but moments and the people to share them with. There's a real need for the senior center, especially here in East Hampton. I go to the wellness classes, activities, and nutrition at the present senior center. Here are the facts, because I was there, I attended, I participated. Thursday, December 12th, the temperature was 33, felt like 21. In the exercise class, there were 23 people, 23. Lunch had 51 people. Friday, December 13th, temperature was 33, felt like 21. Knitting, there were 16 people. Lunch had 56 people. Monday, December 16th, it was raining. Temperature was 45, felt like 36. At the craft, there were 34 people. Knitting, 11 people. Lunch, 42 people. Today, Tuesday, December 17th, temperature 52, feels like 40. Exercise class, 15 people. I had to leave to come to this meeting. These are the facts. There were people there. Those were the numbers. This is actual. The misinformation must stop. The wellness classes have made a difference in the lives of so many people. Just ask some of our local doctors, Dr. Hubble, Dr. Dempsey, Dr. Sultan. They'll tell you about how people have changed, especially in balance, hips, knees, shoulders, arthritis. Oh, by the way, I asked 125 people of my friends right here in East Hampton, would you come to the new senior center? Each and every one said absolutely yes. Throughout the decades of this community, many of the people like myself have supported our children in the town. Now, as seniors, we need your support. We try to stay active and live a happy and healthy lifestyle. But in reality, we need a place to support our healthy lifestyle. We need the new senior center. I personally would like to extend a warm welcome to all seniors of the community to come on down and join us at the Senior Center for wellness classes, activities, movies, bridge, mahjong, and nutrition. I'd like to wish each and every one of you a happy, and your families, a happy and healthy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Bill Nicolai.
Good
Welcome,
morning.
Bill.
I'm one of those people who he was talking about that has joined. I lived in New York. I've actually been coming out here since I was a baby with my parents, but I actually just got really used to East Hampton through the center. And it's amazing. A neighbor of mine who had just retired started telling me about what they offered. I didn't even know they had existed. And after learning about that and learning about some of the classes and taking a lot of the exercise classes and some of the other ones that were a little more involved with our emotions and things like that, I really found that I love it. And I really go to the center probably 4 out of 5 days a week. I'm taking 6 different classes. I have lunch there probably about 3 to 4 times a week and meet really nice grouping of people, all different ages, from all walks of life. And everything is always crowded. I mean, I don't understand where these figures came from. Some of Margaret's classes, they've talked about, were so crowded that we couldn't even do the exercises because the rooms were too small. And I know, I just think it's terrific, and I think that it's great that we're planning something. I think that the classes are really something that people are really amazed that my friends from New York are really amazed that East Hampton does this sort of thing. Most of the centers in New York don't do half the things we do. And it's just a terrific place, and I think it's a wonderful place to grow older. And they say as we get older, we're supposed to be surrounded by people and not be alone. And so if our families can't come out during the week, we're here, and it's really very nice. So I'm really appreciative of everything you can do. The new center sounds nice, but don't forget about the classes. They're really, really important. So I thank you, and happy holidays.
Thank you, Bill. Luz Carmona? Good morning, Luz.
Good morning.
If you could just state your name for the record for the clerk.
Luz Carmona.
Thank you.
I came here as immigrant 44 years ago. I grew older here. I ran business for 30 years, joined the community by serving mostly the Latin community. After 30 years, I'm retired, and I find myself sitting down at my house by myself. And then I realized that I need to socialize. I start joining the senior center like for 6 months. I really love it, love the people there. They are very loving, caring. I join the classes. What I find out is that sometimes it's too crowded, and when I go to the classes, we don't have the room what we need. Sometimes 50 people, 40, and I find out that we really need the new center. It's very important, and plus the Latin community in this town is growing, and people, as we start joining the center, so I really love to go there and have the room we need and everything. I really like you to consider the idea of building the new center. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Next up is Joan Werble. Oh, she's not here. Okay. Kieran Brew. Kieran, do you want to speak now or do you want to wait? Okay. Welcome, Kieran.
Thank you, Supervisor Brett Gonzalez, members of the town board, public, both here and watching at home. This is my third time now addressing you on the topic of GFA this round. The last round, I think it was 2017, I spoke twice, and in 2009, I also spoke in opposition to restrictions, what I view as excessive restrictions. And I have to be careful because this is the first time that I felt really emotional about it. There's been a lot of emotion about this topic. It seems like as someone sitting, trying to be objective, trying to think about this thing from different points of view, and from looking at it from a practical standpoint, I feel like there's a lot of emotion that's dictating these changes and the need for these changes. We've seen soliloquies of people talking about what is a house? And we've spent time quibbling over the difference between a covered porch on a pool house versus a covered porch attached to the main house, and what is a garage, and should it be attached or detached, and minor issues like that we thought we were addressing to fill in some loopholes that this law had not foreseen. And it seems like all the while there was a thermonuclear switch that has been in the wings that we didn't know about. I didn't know about it, and I've been fairly involved in this. I've been paying somewhat attention. I haven't been to too many meetings. And that is the 7% and 1,300 calculation, which would take my house, which is currently my property in Amagansett, which I bought in 2003. I also live here. My kids have gone through the schools. I've coached Little League, a volunteer fireman. I've supported all kinds of causes and helped people in various ways, and have enjoyed that support in return, as a community should. Would take my house from 3,600 square feet to under 2,700 square feet. And so a typical family, like there are a lot of that I deal with, and I know a lot of you deal with too, and are friendly with, that have a family of 5 on a half acre, you're saying we should live in 500 square feet. And when I hear people come up and talk about this issue in support of these excessive restrictions, I look at them and I know, because I know about real estate. As you know, I'm a real estate agent, though I'm not here as a real estate agent. I'll get to that in just a second. That they live in far more than 500 square feet per person. And that they're telling me how big a house I can live in, how much value I can add to the land that I bought over 20 years ago, and I have worked my behind off to support, pay for, rented because I can't afford to with just work. And I'm not here as a real estate agent because it doesn't matter, because there will be 2 types of markets in this town. Houses built before 2025 will have an artificial increase in value, and houses built after 2025 will see an automatic artificial decrease in value. And those numbers will be equal, and I will still make the same money. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the value of my property where I've raised my kids, paid taxes, and lived in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Charlotte Sherwood. Good morning, Charlotte.
Good morning, all of you. I'm here to
Could
show
you
my
state
support.
your name for the record? My apologies.
Charlotte Sherwood. I'm here to show my support for the Senior Center, which is an incredible place for many reasons. It's the classes there are extraordinary. You've already heard from my friend that, you know, the doctors are remarking on how patients are improving. It provides so many services that are desperately needed. You know, it's health, nutrition, but I think most of all, it's community, because we older people can get very isolated and lonely. And there's always this amazing place to go with extraordinary people, fabulous teachers, and what can I say? I hear there's a threat to it, and that is very upsetting. It must continue. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. Andrea Kunzel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Andrea. Welcome.
Could you state your name?
Yes, my name is Andrea Kunzel, and I live with my husband and my dog in a 1,000-square-foot house on Church Lane in Springs. And this house has been so far the happiest home of my entire life. And lately, I keep hearing those catchy arguments against the proposed building code amendments. I therefore want to speak to the claims that the local economy and employment will suffer and that real estate prices will be negatively affected by the proposed building code change. I think that real estate prices will actually benefit from a more constrained building code. Reduced supply, especially in certain categories, will result in higher prices. Vice versa, real estate value will certainly not benefit from overdeveloping East Hampton with oversized houses that make it look like suburbia. Also, the agents that claim that the local economy will get affected if the house size is being capped are the very few real estate individuals that sell these humongous properties. The vast majority of agents will be as busy as always because houses will still sell if they're a little bit more reasonable in size. Furthermore, the economy out here is already doing too well for our own good, and the local workforce is not able to keep up. See the daily trade parade on 27 and the immense need for affordable housing. And then the buyers. They are all LLCs, seeing our very home and natural resources as a monopoly-like investment game. And if they actually happen to be here, it's only for a couple of months per year. But meanwhile, they're using up so much land, energy, and water just because they can afford it. What do we owe them? The only ones we owe something are the generations to come. Our children and grandchildren need intact and healthy living resources, just like we do. And we therefore need to act immediately to protect these precious and fragile ecosystem that we call home. I therefore fully support the proposed amendment. And if it was up to me, I would even be more stringent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Linda Skellinger? No? Okay, Linda's not here. Lou Cortese? Good morning, Lou.
Morning, Lou Cortese. I'm here as a resident of Montauk and not affiliated with any other organizations. There's no doubt about whether the town has a problem with the scale of the houses that are being built and the negative effect they're having on our neighbors, our town infrastructure, and our natural resources. I have heard no one make the argument that the intensity of development is fine, that there's nothing to fix. The entire community, from ordinary citizens to real estate developers, have unanimously stated their concern about the alarming change in scale and character that is antithetical to what kind of community personality all of us want East Hampton to maintain. The only point of dispute among us today is the level of adjustment that is needed to be employed in order to make a discernible difference, one that will correct the current problem and set us up for a sustainable future. Instead, what is being proposed by the opponents of the formula suggested by the Zoning Code Amendments Group is a diluted modification that will hardly be noticeable. It will serve only as a diversionary tactic. Some people will attempt to bamboozle with a claim that the problem of wildly exaggerated house sizes has been addressed, even though no actual mitigation has been imposed. The suggested formula of 7% plus 1,300 square feet was arrived at after churning and analyzing mounds of data by the work group. The resulting reduction on average for a home is 25%. It still allows a 600 square foot garage and a very large lower level living space. The resulting size of a house on a half acre would be 2,700 plus a basement and a 600 square foot garage. What do those who oppose this formula want? A 5% reduction, 10%, 15, or even 20? Those suggestions are just lip service. Let's compare the motivation of those of us who want to see a meaningful reduction in the formula and those who are clamoring that we've gone too far. There's no denying that the enthusiasm of those of us who are calling for the town board to lower the formula to the level suggested so that there can be a meaningful impact on the ballooning house size is inspired by our desire to preserve East Hampton as the quaint, semi-rural community that we all love. In short, it's for the wider communal interest. Now let's look at what is motivating the developers and their adjacent industries. Profit. I want to be clear, profit is not evil. I admire and support all business enterprises in our town, and I support wholeheartedly their ability to be financially rewarded for their work. I come from the business world and I empathize with the challenges that exist to make a buck. We don't need to have external regulations to make things harder. The point I want to make to the board today is that the group has been vociferously pleading with you to do something meaningful to truly address the oversized and intensified development, is doing so for the interest of the entire enclave of East Hampton. Whereas the impetus of the builders to keep the GFA formula, I'm almost finished, GFA formula maximized is strictly self-serving. Upton Sinclair, and this is what I'm finishing with. Upton Sinclair once said, "It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it." As it applies to this issue, I would say it's difficult to get a group
Lou,
of builders to
we need to be
lower the
fair to
GFA
everyone.
formula to a meaningful level when the group's profit depends upon not lowering the maximum GFA. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Delano, do I have that pronounced properly? Good morning, Janice. Welcome.
All the members of the town board.
If you could just state your name on the record for the clerk.
Janice Delano. Hello to all the members of the board. I didn't do a very good job preparing to speak. I just have this long email I sent to all of you and then a second email I sent to all of you. And I hope you'll read those carefully when you get a chance. But I do want to comment on some of the things that I heard, starting with I did a little chart, and you've probably seen charts before, but I focused on a 1/4 acre of land, a 1/2 acre of land, and 1 acre of land, and how large of a property, gross floor area you could have prior to even the current. There's the current situation, what we have now, which is, for example, a 1/4 acre piece of land can have a 2,600 square foot house, gross floor area above ground, 1/2 acre, 3,600, and forget 1 acre, 5,600. That's pretty generous, I would say. But prior to that, a 1/4 acre parcel had 2,800 square foot allowed to it, and that was prior to 2017, which is not very long ago. I don't know if we remember that these changes were pretty recent already that reduced, well, they reduced particularly larger size lots. And the proposal for now for a 1/4 acre parcel is 2,000 square feet. Now I primarily live in Southampton, though I own a property in East Hampton, but I've designed and built several homes. And I can tell you from personal experience, I just moved to Sagaponack Village near the train tracks on the north side and went through that whole process of trying to fit on a 1/2 acre parcel, a 3,000 square foot property above ground. And out of that, I was desperate to have at least one large room. And I will say this one large room I do have is 22 feet by 45, I think. So it's a big room, but it has a living room, a dining room, and a kitchen. And it's not that big. And on top of that, I couldn't even fit a 4th bedroom, really, given the other constraints I had. And I just feel that as a designer, I am positive that 2,000 square feet, given all of the space we have out in the Hamptons and on these properties and surrounding each of these properties, 2,000 square feet is incredibly small. I once did a 2,000 square foot house, and It was really, really tight. And that's going from 2,800 square foot to 2,000. So I just feel the property I have is on an acre. So I'm not addressing this for myself. The 1 acre I have in East Hampton, actually it's a family home. But I also think that we really need, when we address this issue of these larger homes, because that one, even the 1 acre has gone from 6,400 to 5,600 to now proposed is 4,100. That's a huge change. And even under this work group that everyone says is so generous, it's 4,800 square feet on an acre. That's not, oh, boy, I have so much more to say. But I do think we should look carefully at the science behind all of what you're doing, because the whole issue of the size of homes has always been based on massing in all of the towns and all of the villages. And I see that you all have changed that it's now based on a lot of environmental considerations. So we need to look at the science of whether or not these large homes that typically belong to people who are here only like 2 months in the summer actually are environmentally using a lot more energy than a small home that someone's living in year round, like up in Springs. And another thing is, it's so unfair to all the young people who just bought up in Springs and spent, $1,200,000 for a little cottage that on a quarter acre that they thought that they could build a big house on someday when they saved the money. And under this, they couldn't. And lastly,
We've got both your emails. I've read them. I'm sure my colleagues have too.
I have to say one last thing, though. I really hope that you'll.
We also have 3 callers on the line.
Okay, thank you, Jason. So that's everyone that's signed up. I'm going to take the callers and then we'll come back to the room.
Okay, and transitioning over. All right. Hello, caller ending 4602. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning. This is Betsy Petrowski calling in regarding the proposal for the new GFA zoning code change being presented today. I find that it is to be reasonable, necessary, and should be voted on for approval. What's at stake, if not allowed, will be a town that will, in the very near future, be unrecognizable to what we know as our rural character, aesthetic, and our local neighborhoods. There are not too many unbuilt properties left, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, of modest homes built on properties less than an acre or so that were built during the last century. We are all aware of the reality that these homes are now and will eventually be torn down or expanded in the near future. If we don't stop and reduce what's been and is currently happening in our neighborhoods the past 10 years throughout our diverse historic hamlets of newly built, maxed out, supersized homes, shoehorned into small lots that overwhelm the neighboring properties, the streetscape, and our neighborhoods. With the exception of the building trade, their real estate selling partners and the supporting land use businesses, our community knows quite well and has been sounding the alarm that this current situation is unsustainable and will continue to tax our environment, our resources, and will steadily increase our taxes necessary to finance an infrastructure that currently cannot support this type of community. These oversized homes are not affordable to our year-round community as it stands, and after they are built, most sit empty while using up the limited resources we have and increasingly making it painful for us who have to live literally in their shadows 12 months of the year. Making this important zoning change will not change the ability for the building trade and real estate agents to make a good living, as stated in their recent letter that was written by a local builder and sent out to all the realtors in our town, warning them that if the code change goes through, it will affect their profits, but does not mention anything about caring for our town and the environment. I don't think they see the long-term effect. By not approving this important small GFA zoning code change, there will come a time when every house has been overbuilt and unnaturally crammed into small neighborhood lots, that our town will lose its appeal and these unfriendly buildings will sit empty for sale and will actually hurt the housing market. Hopefully, for the benefit of our year-round community and our environment, there will come a time when this small group of our community that profits from this destruction of our town's neighborhoods and rural nature realize that they can still make a living without sacrificing our beautiful town, and it's okay to make enough. An old Buddhist saying, knowing when you have enough is wisdom. As long as we think we do not have enough, we shall not have enough. When we know we have enough, we have enough. So I ask, please vote this proposal into the town's code for the sanctity of our town, its rural history and charm, and the sanity and health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Jason, if you want to put the next caller through.
Absolutely. Hello, caller ending 4123. You are on the air.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Please state your name.
Okay, Carol Steinberg Springs. I've spoken before. Forgive me for repeating myself, but I'm passionately calling in support of the proposed changes to the GFA recommended by the Zoning Code Amendment Work Group. Thank you to the town board for the changes you have made, and thank you so much to this hardworking group who are doing so much for all of us. The proportion of house size to lot size is the crux of the issue of the monster houses that plague us all. I heartily support their proposal as the minimum of what should be done. Unfortunately, the building and real estate industry portrays this minimum and reasonable change as a pending disaster. It is not, and the changes will greatly benefit the entire community. Amagansett is a perfect example of the need for this change. Half-acre lots that used to have lovely proportional homes on them are now almost covered with structures. I used to stay at the Seabreeze and so loved the lovely farmhouse next door. I even studied the roof angle in planning my house. That house has been demolished, and now a monstrosity almost completely covers the entire lot. I can't look at it as I drive by. And also, as I have mentioned, next door to me in Springs was a lovely wooded lot. A spec builder purchased it, knocked down almost every tree, overcleared and overbuilt, resulting in a stop work order. Now that it's listed, huge structures almost completely cover that lot. Venerable trees have been replaced with a few scraggly 6-foot evergreens. This can be avoided with saner rules about proportion of house size to lot size. As I have mentioned before, I thought about this issue years ago when I did my will, maybe 10 years ago. It states my house will go to the Peconic Land Trust with a conservation easement that runs with the land. That will prevent the house from being demolished unless it's uninhabitable, and it provides for very limited addition to the house. The town can accomplish these reasonable restrictions with the proposed reasonable zoning laws. Every time I see a house for sale, I shudder, as I think it'll probably be purchased by a spec builder who will build a monster house. Our community is changing in ways that no one could foresee, and most of the people do not want. Every time I talk to people, everywhere I go, the mechanic, the drugstore, the grocery store, people complain about the huge monstrosities in their neighborhood. Without these minimum changes, East Hampton will become unrecognizable in a few short years. Please enact these changes as a minimum and then do more, including tightening the clearing regulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Jason, is there another caller on the line?
Absolutely. I will unmute the next caller right now. Hello, caller ending 7314. You're on the air.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. My name is Megan Toy. I am a resident of East Hampton Town. I live in Sag Harbor Village, and I am very much in favor of these proposed code changes to lower the maximum allowed GFA. I am 33 years old. I am a lifetime local, and I don't know how many people my age have been forced to move, and, because of the woman that was up before, who was a designer, said that 2,000 square feet is very small. I would do so many things for 2,000 square feet. Oh my goodness. That is, a luxury, 2,000 square feet for someone like me who can't even, I work really hard and I can't even keep my feet on the ground because of the prices out here. And it feels like the real estate industry is kind of using our land and our homes as a way to, make money. This isn't the stock market. The these are people's homes. It's our sense of place. It's us feeling like we belong in the place that we grew up in and that our parents grew up in. And, you know, when a 700 square foot house gets sold and then demolished and replaced with a 3,000 square foot house, that is sending me and 10 other families out of this town. And who's going to be your plumber? Who's going to be your waitress? You know, because it's not going to be, it's just not going to be the people who can afford these 3,000 square foot homes. So I'm just kind of begging you to please maintain a space for someone young and hardworking and would really, really like to stay in the area. And I mean, also, overdevelopment is what's killing our environment. I'm sure it's said before. Just look at all the, you know, devastation of the trees on 114 and on 27 going into Montauk. The more we build, the more we are kind of lessening the lifespan of Eastern Long Island. So, thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
All right.
I'm going to come
unmuting
back
next
to
caller. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Never mind. And
Yeah, you had said 3, so I'm going to take a break there, Jason, and come back to the room.
no worries.
Okay. Is there anyone here that didn't sign up? Joe?
Oh, which Joe?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Joe and then Joe.
Good morning, Supervisor and Town Board. My name is Joe Lenahan. I'm here on behalf of myself and my company in support of offering some education to the town board and the public on lithium-ion batteries in residential homes. As you know, our area is overrun now with EV vehicles. We have ESS storage facilities and e-bikes and all sorts of things that kids have that we didn't have when we were kids. I'm a 39-year veteran of the fire service. I'm an ex-chief, and now I've put most of my time into educating the public on the dangers of what you have in your home, one of them being lithium-ion batteries. I have worked with the FDNY as well as a company on the West Coast called SAFE, which is solar and fire education. And I'm offering the town the opportunity that we can come together and do a lecture to the town board on lithium-ion batteries and the dangers that people should know they're facing in their homes. And also bring a gentleman out to talk to the public and educate them as well on lithium-ion batteries. One of the biggest issues we're running into now with, let's say, cell phones, people buy an iPhone and it has a charger that the company says you should use for that phone, but then everybody goes to Best Buy or Aftermarket Place and gets a charger where you just sit the phone in the cradle. The problem is a lot of these lithium-ion batteries don't have memories, and what they'll do is you charge it to its fullest extent, and it doesn't, once it gets to its 100%, it will not start dropping down to, let's say, 80%, like a higher end product. And then once it starts lowering its percentage, then it will recharge itself. So one of the biggest issues right now is the dangers that we're facing. A lot of people don't realize when lithium-ion batteries are charged, let's say your phone or your car that you have stored in your garage, your EV car, once they get to their fullest extent, the charge should be pulled off. Because what will happen is the battery will keep on heating itself up, and that's what causes them to start breaking down, where they start heating up, and then they go into a thermal runaway, which causes the batteries inside the containment of the device or the car to start burning, which could cause catastrophic dangers. Just alone in Montauk alone, I have a friend of mine who I've told numerous times has 6 EV bikes plugged into a strip outlet that's plugged into a 20 amp breaker in their pool house. It's a danger. and it's a catastrophe waiting to happen, and
You continue.
and I would,
gonna
and I
let
would
Joe
like
continue.
to offer the town board the education so we can educate you as well as the public in the near future. Thank you.
We'll definitely take you up on that. Thank you for coming today
Thank you.
and for your service.
And there is a presentation on
Correct. Yep.
this topic today as well in this work session. So thank you so much.
Okay. Joe Gaviola. Welcome, Joe.
Supervisor, Town Board. Changing gears again, I'm president of the Montauk Historical
Could you
Society.
state your name
also-
for the record, please?
Can I say that? Joe Gaviola, sorry. And president of the Montauk Historical Society and keeper of the Montauk Lighthouse. And I'm here to discuss our various properties in 3 minutes. I didn't expect that. So I will try and quickly move through some things. I want to summarize some key areas, key accomplishments of the past year, what we're planning on going forward, and discuss with you some areas of our partnerships. So first at the Lighthouse, we had a wonderful year at the Lighthouse. We had probably our best visitation in years, 180 countries, and almost all 50 states came to visit us. Lecturers from Stony Brook University, we had book signings. We brought the Amistad to Montauk. I know Supervisor, you were there for it. And we had lectures from them also. We dedicated a memorial to the those lost at sea on the Pelican this year also, which is kind of amazing. Not resting on our past laurels of our restoration, we're well into planning and rendering for a major restoration and infrastructure improvements there. We now plan on restoring the 1838 Keeper's Dwelling. The building, as you come on to the right at the bottom of the hill, it's been since 1987, something we have wanted to restore. We plan on doing that. Right in front of it, we plan on recreating the 1796 house, which was the original keeper's dwelling there, and put the two together. They're actually together for about 23 years. We're also going to change our ingress and egress through our gift shop. We have issues with our restrooms being overwhelmed by the public, so we're going to rejigger that also. We're working with Chris DeSuno, an architect. We've had preliminary discussions with the planning board. Currently working with Suffolk County Water Authority for restroom septic upgrades, and again, looking to possibly relocate the restrooms from where they are into the 1796 house instead of creating an additional structure down at the bottom of our property. On to second house, the work looks freaking amazing. David, thank you. 11 years, we can't wait to open it this year. Can't wait to open it this year. We have to have a toast when that happens. We submitted plans to put a small orchard in there, 16 apple trees. Hopefully you can give us approval on that before the ground freezes. Also, we have our eyes on restoring the historic barn there. Indian Museum currently closed. We're waiting on additional guidance for display and interpretation of Native American artifacts, but we got almost $250,000 bequest for our Indian Museum. We can't wait to spend the money there. Carl Fisher House, which is really what I want to talk to you about. So thankful to the town board and the CPF committee for purchasing this property for us. Again, it's become a cultural center. We've had lectures on rum running, Lewis Comfort Tiffany, the Montaukets. We had a major exhibit there at the Leisure-Rama this year. We got a Hudson Heritage Award for it also. Planning another big exhibition this summer on prohibition and rum running. Topics in Montauk. No.
Keep going.
I know you're submitting yourselves to site plan on Carl Fisher House. So I'm here to ask you how we can help you, how we can stay involved, how we can stay apprised of what you're doing. Drew came with a couple months ago. We had Lou Cortese, we had Drew Bennett, we had your planning director, we had Scott Wilson, everyone. And we don't know where we are in that process, how we stay apprised of it. Please tell me, what can we do? Can we have any interaction back that I take back, or that's it? No?
We'll talk and we'll get back to you.
Because I know this is, I believe, the first time the town has submitted themselves to site plan. And being on the planning board at one time for 6 years, it scares the hell out of me. That's how long this may take. So hopefully it can be done on an expedited basis. Thank you. Happy holidays.
And also, I just want to let you know, I mean, we could schedule a work session so that you could, the Montauk Historical Society could make a presentation at one of our work sessions.
I would love to.
At the library when we're out there.
Okay.
So I can work that out with you or Mia and Dick. So
Definitely. Thank you. Happy
that we
holidays.
can go into more depth.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, show of hands.
I don't know if you can see everybody on that side.
Welcome, Sean.
Hello, good morning. My name is Sean McGee, and thank you for the time. I'm speaking today in opposition to the proposed reduction to the GFA formula. In my opinion, this proposal will have negative impacts upon the town at large, the local economy, and most significantly upon our year-round local residents, particularly young families. Within East Hampton, there are an abundance of properties that were formed before modern zoning laws and guidelines. This is stated as such in the PowerPoint I received last night. 61% are non-conforming to the minimum lot size. These properties are already a challenge to build, live, and potentially expand upon. Non-conforming and smaller lots have different calculations for pyramid laws. Why should they not for GFA? In the past several years, we've seen explosive increases in home prices, far outpacing the average income of the town. This makes buying a home even more challenging for East Hampton residents than the average American. The dreams of homeownership for so many are limited to only the types of aforementioned properties of smaller lot sizes. These two factors create a formidable challenge for residents, especially younger generations looking to buy homes and grow families. Locals are being priced out of the real estate market due to the nature of East Hampton having a large number of second homes. The few properties that may be attainable will likely be smaller homes on smaller lots. This proposed change will exacerbate this issue, as these smaller houses and smaller properties will now be even more challenging to raise a family in. This sets up a concerning situation where younger generations and families will be pushed out of our community due to the combination of inflated real estate prices and prohibitive restrictions on the few affordable properties. What will happen to our community when our young families are pushed out? My family is directly impacted by this, as the proposed changes would make our dream of expanding our current home for a growing family all but impossible. Our thought process went as follows. This is a small house on a small lot. It's expensive and needs work. But if we save enough, we'll eventually be able to add an addition for our growing family. We've saved, spent money, and invested our time for 3 years, and now that may all be for naught. With these proposed changes, we will likely be forced to sell our home, and given the real estate market in East Hampton, we may be forced to leave. I cannot imagine we are the only family who has had this thought process, are now in this situation, and will be facing this situation if this proposal is passed. Not to mention the fact that the passing of this proposal will almost immediately decrease the value of all impacted properties like mine. Lastly, East Hampton residents and the local economy are heavily dependent upon the construction industry. This change will take revenue from our local businesses, and through the trickle-down effect, will thus take money out of the pockets of hundreds, if not thousands, of local workers and their families. The weight and impact of this proposal and decision are not merely confined to limiting excessive building. It will negatively impact town residents, the local economy, and families for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, show of hands. Liz? Welcome, Liz.
Hello, hi, my name's Liz Miller, and I am here speaking in opposition of the GFA reduction. So this also directly impacts me. I hear a lot of people talking about the future generations, and we're doing this for future generations, but I bought a house years ago. It's a 600 square foot cottage. That's how small it is. And I lived in it for years with my 2 kids, my 2 dogs, and my husband. We made it work as long as we could. We jumped through all the hoops we had to jump through to get a house built. And now with this coming into play, all of everything we've done up until this moment will have to get shifted around. We'll have to put more time into it, more money into it. It's so hard as it is to be able to live out here. I grew up out here. I went to spring school, K through 8. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a nurse. I'm super local. I love it out here. All I want to do is raise my kids out here. And you can't buy these big houses that are out here. So what we have to do is we have to buy the little houses, and then we have to save up and make them into houses that we can grow families in. No one can tell me that you can have a family in a 600 square foot house. That's insane. So we're making a bigger house. This will make that so much harder. It will make all of the money and time that we've spent worthless. We already have plans. We're so close in the process. And now we're just going to be told, well, we're actually shrinking it down and you have to redo everything. It's so discouraging to hear things like that. And I'm just begging that you don't pass this, because there are a lot of people that are in my situation. It's very hard to live out here. If you want to have a house that you can host your family members that have left because they couldn't stay out here, you want to have a house that, hey, why don't you come stay with me for Christmas or Thanksgiving? You can't do that if you have these tiny little houses on these tiny little lots. I get the intention. I get what you guys are trying to do, because I also hate seeing these mega mansions go up. It's gross. I don't like it. I've lived here my whole life. I like the beauty of this place. But I don't think that this is it. I think there's got to be a different solution, because I think that this plan hurts the locals who are just trying to stay out here as hard as we can. It hurts us a lot. And I don't think that was the intention with this plan, but that is what's happening if this goes through. That's basically my main thing.
Good morning. I'm David Buda, B-U-D-A. On a totally unrelated topic, two topics actually. You have today a presentation on the potential acquisition under the General Municipal Law, Section 72A, of various properties that the county had acquired by way of tax foreclosure. I look forward to watching and listening to that presentation, because frankly, I'm very confused about the situation. The county of Suffolk, yes, they have the right and the authority to sell at little or no cost just to recoup tax revenue, to sell that to the town. However, the properties that you are going to be discussing today are 5 of the 6 East Hampton properties that were part of a public online auction that occurred on November 20th. Now, that was a publicized auction, and according to the county's website, 5 of those 6 properties have been sold. And the properties that your presentation that was prepared for today's purposes says that you're hoping to purchase them for about $500,000. They've actually already sold for $3.2 million. So although the county has not transferred title, transferred the deeds, and perhaps there may be reasons why the winning bidders at the online auction may not consummate their purchases. At this point, it looks like the horse is already out of the barn. So I'm curious to see what's actually the situation and why the town is still believes it's in a position to acquire some or all of these properties from the county. Next topic is actually an anticipation of Thursday's set of hearings. I believe there are 5 of them for Community Housing Fund proposals for developers and programs that have sought money, substantial monies from the program. Obviously, we have now the extra 0.5% of realty transfer fee money that is used as dedicated as fiduciary money for the Community Housing Fund. At least one of the proposals is quite curious, because it doesn't seek to build any new affordable housing, but rather to reimburse or refinance some of the actually built expenses for the new Springs Fireplace, 3 Mile Harbor Road Affordable Housing Program. There's the developer, and this is not a nonprofit, but the developer that had, and they've been a good partner with the town. They've built other projects for the town, but apparently they've run short of money, and they're seeking a $1 million contribution to their bottom line. I was curious enough about the situation. I did watch the work session presentation, so I did hear the summary of the Community Housing Fund Committee's recommendation. I've put in a request, and I'm going to ask you again publicly, that you should make available for the public before Thursday's hearing the application for each of the 5 Community Housing Fund proposals so that the people have a full opportunity to understand the request. I think that you owe complete and utter transparency for any expenditures, whether it be Community Housing Fund or Community Preservation Fund. And my FOIL request of December the 3rd has not yet been responded to. Thank you.
Okay, show of hands. Craig. Welcome, Craig.
Yes. Thanks, Craig. You give one to the clerk too, if you can, please. Okay, I'll give it mine. I already got one. Thanks.
Your numbers are teeny.
Yes.
I gave her one already. I had one already. Yep.
I can't even.
Thank you, members of the board. Craig Van Sickle, resident of Springs. I'm also a real estate agent. It's interesting. I'm very sensitive to the two sides of the testimonies that we've heard today. And it reflects actually my impression, having layered my experience. My job is to understand what people want, not necessarily just buyers that are coming for second homes, but just like what do people want in their homes. And I've been suggesting a more progressive formula in prior testimonies, and as I've thought about it, and the closer you get to you guys making a decision, the closer you look at it. So I looked at this chart. I looked at what the prior to 217 one, the current, the working group proposal, your working proposal, and then how to make it potentially more progressive so that it doesn't impact smaller lots as much, but it goes maybe even beyond what your current working formula of the 7 and 13 does on the larger properties. So the proposal that I sort of looked at, or the formula I looked at, that I think goes between what the working group and what the current one that you guys are looking at, in terms of it gives a little more generous than yours, but a little less generous for the small houses than the working groups. But then it's a little bit more restrictive than I think actually both proposals on the larger houses is 6% plus 1,800. I sent you this chart, and it's an interactive chart, so you can play with the numbers and you can see all. I'll actually send you an updated one which has this last line. It's pretty last minute for me doing these noodling out, but since the testimony seems to reflect something that's pretty similar to what I've been thinking, which is that the smaller houses might be given a little more generous GFA and the larger houses are what people are understandably objecting to, this formula might be something that you guys would consider. In general, I would say this is sort of a threshold moment. I was part of the effort to bring through the Community Preservation Fund legislation. In that time, the biggest real estate companies, represented by Paul Brennan and Bravo Newbrough Brennan, Michael Desario, Cook Pony Farm, and I was new, but I went to the partners at Allen Schneider. The real estate community, we went up and testified to the governor because we knew that the beauty of this area is the goose that lays the golden egg. And I would say that this is another moment where we have to look at what really does bring value to the community. And it's the natural features that we all love and that are unique and that can't be manufactured. You can build bigger houses, so much other parts of the world. East Hampton is incredibly special because of the natural things that we have. So I just hope that you do go forward with something that constrains the upper limits. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Larry? Welcome, Larry.
Good
Good morning. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Town Board.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Larry Kane. Like to thank you guys. You guys have done a great job over the last year and a half. You guys, I think just last week, voted for your probably almost dozen changes to the zoning code. A lot of those things have cleaned up and will help this town moving forward. So I commend you for all those things. But today, when we start to talk about GFA, I think you guys are going a lot too far with this. Southampton, on a half acre, you can build 8,000 square feet. Fortunately, we don't live there, and we have the beautiful town of East Hampton. East Hampton, I could currently build 3,600 square feet on a half acre. And what you're proposing is that would go down to 2,700 square feet. This is really just far too much of a move at this point here. I'm reading through how this came about. Affordability. There is no difference if I build you a 2,700 square foot or a 3,600 square foot house. There is zero difference in the affordability there. No teacher can buy the 2,600 square foot house or the 3,600 square foot house. So this has nothing to do with affordability. You talk about climate change, and you talk about the great houses from the 80s. I built some of those houses. Those houses have buried steel oil tanks that are leaking into the groundwater. Those houses have very poor insulation. Those houses have incandescent lights. Those houses have boilers that run at 72% efficiency. The science of climate change, not the feel-good science, but the real science, is that we now build houses that have perfect insulation, LED lights. They don't have buried oil tanks. We have $85,000 septic systems outside. So the real polluters in this town are the houses that were built in the 70s and 80s. I don't care if they're 1,200 square feet, 1,700 square feet, or 2,500 square feet. So climate change is off the book. Overcrowding. The bigger houses, most of these houses, like you said, do sit empty. Maybe they pay a lot of taxes, and they do afford jobs for most of the people in this town. So I think when we get to the level that we're talking about right now, it comes down to what some of the local people have spoken about. What you were doing is you were taking away property rights from people at this point. And we could all decide where that line is. But in this country, in this town, I think you buy property and you have certain rights within that property. The group of you are what keep us between the guardrails, but this is just going too far. So now it is up to you guys to decide, and I hope you do this with a lot of balance, and you listen to the emails, and you listen to all the people who have spoken. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Larry. Welcome.
Hi, I'm John Woodsma. I'm here to speak in opposition to the GFA formula because it does disproportionately hurt smaller lots, which is most of us. I mean, Kate, the house you had next door to me would not be able to be built under your new code. Did you think that was an abuse of the land? Did you think it was overdevelopment? I mean, my house wouldn't be able to be built right now. And one of the things that we do have is the land to retire on. And one part of that is being able to expand it to its fullest potential. So why would you want to take our rights away? Why would you want to make so many properties non-conforming? Because, as Karen said, all you're going to do is make certain ones more valuable, and then they skip over the houses that we used to have. That's just not fair. I ask you to please find a different way that you don't proportionally hurt the smaller lots and the smaller people that are trying to live here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Martha? Welcome, Martha.
Hi, thank you. My name's Martha Gunderson, and I'm sort of speaking on behalf of the younger people, the younger generation, and the couple in the back. I know a lot of people like them who have struggled really hard to buy a half acre in the Springs. They may have 1 or 2 children, and they really, really work like slaves, sorry for the expression, to hold on to what they have so they can stay here. They grew up here. They pay a mortgage. They have childcare. It's really hard. One of them just got a permit to put on an extension to their house because they want to stay here. They don't want to move further west. And the other thing is, if we lose some of these people and they're the laborers, the builders, the waitresses, they will be contributing more to the trade parade, and there'll be more congestion, not less congestion on the roads. The other thing is, the one lady said, I could live in 1,000 square feet. I was like, yeah, I could live in 1,000 square feet too, but not with 6 other people. You know, these houses are there for more than just one person. And I just want you to think with your heart, because I want to visualize what East Hampton will be with just a lot of people who can be here just because they have money and they're older. I just don't want to have East Hampton to become a place where the young can't raise their children and enjoy it like we did. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Martha. Would anyone else like to speak? I'm going to go to the phones now. Jason, are there still folks on the call on the line?
We have one caller on the line right now. Hello, caller, ending 0299. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Town Board. This is Carolyn Logan Gluck calling, and I wanted to add my voice to the others who have spoken in support of the proposed changes to the GFA formula. There's really no need to repeat the reasons they've stated. I'm in complete agreement. I'm no planning expert. I'm not a builder. I really have nothing to do with the real estate trade except live in a house. But I do want to commend the Zoning Code Amendment Working Group on the great deal of thought that they've given to coming up with this magical number of 7% plus 1,300. Although I think of it in the reverse, 1,300 plus 7%, which is the icing on the cake, if you're lucky enough to be on a large property. And say that my impression is that a great deal of thought has been given to finding that fine line, that magical balancing point between competing interests, those who want to see even a greater reduction and those who would like to see much less of a reduction. So I just want to say that I heartily support what this zoning code working group has come up with, and hope that the town board will also put its faith behind the hard work that the group has done. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Carolyn.
We have no other callers.
I'm going to come back to the room. Does anyone? One last time? All right, we're going to move on to top. You made it just under the wire.
Is it working? Good morning. My name is Steve Grabowski. I live in East Hampton. I just want to remind this board, and I'm not going to beat it up as far as what's already been said. I got here an hour late, but I'm sure from the last few speakers, I think they made it pretty clear. But one thing I want to remind the board of is this emblem right here, the fire department. Every fireman that's in our department right now is needed desperately. We all see signs up and down 27, and it's not just here, it's throughout the east end of Long Island, how desperate they are for firefighters. I'm 65 years old. I don't go in burning buildings anymore, okay? I help clean up, that's about it. But, when I was 20 and 30 years old, yes, we did. We were smoke eaters. But, and the people that are going to go in the middle of the night and put your house out or your car out, or God forbid, have to save a life, is going to be that 20 and 30-year-old. And what this does is Does it completely kill it? No, but it makes it that much harder. You're asking people right now that a half-acre property, $750,000. I mean, to me, it's insane, you know what I mean, as far as the cost. So now you're asking that person to take their life savings, invest in $750,000, and oh, by the way, you used to be able to build this, but now we're going to reduce you even more to what you want to build. And maybe they might want a bigger house because maybe if they're blessed with children, okay, maybe they can add on to that house, okay, and have their family live there and so on and so forth. But all this does, because you're going to ride by and say, is that a 2,000 square foot house or an 18 square foot house? You're not really going to know, okay? How you're going to know how big the house is inside the house when they start using the rooms, and they need that room. So I see absolutely no sense to reducing it at all, really. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, let the people enjoy their investment and things that they're going to literally pay for almost for the rest of their life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Aaron Bahar. Thank you for having me here today. It's my first visit in this beautiful building. I've been a resident of Amagansett for the last 7 years, on and off a little bit. Got a chance to be here 2.5 years during COVID, which was for my family an amazing opportunity to get to know the community. We also recently sold our large house and are moving into a smaller house, which we're very excited about. I really enjoyed listening to everybody, and I see that you have a real big challenge ahead of you. I really love the initiative. I read through online, look at the supporting information, and I believe in the vision because I think that not a single person here says otherwise. What I find challenging is that there's so much data out there, there's such great community, and any decision that will be made now seems that half this room will go one way and the other half the other way, and I don't think that builds better communities. I'm a subject matter expert in the world of data development, real estate development. And what I see is an opportunity for you to set an example to a better process and achieve your vision rather than taking initiatives such as this, if the GFA or anything like that. Just to finish this is that when I look at the challenges of how do you solve affordability without densification, that's a big problem to have, but this is also a very unique area. It's landlocked. How do you solve for better outdoor space and easier commute and walkability, which is, I think, way more meaningful for this community to have more central commercial areas that people can walk to, so we have less cars on the road instead of standing in traffic for a half-a-mile drive that we need to do. So I only ask and urge this board to engage more, and I'm happy to offer any help that I can in what I do. And I think it's an easy as launching an app for Q1 that all the residents can have access and get factual information and data and see that if you do decide to move forward with the measure, great, then we'll measure and hold the board and town accountable for it because we have to. And I think that that's what in today's information that's available to us we can. And I hope that you'll take me up on my offer. And if not, it's okay. I will keep coming here and want to help in other ways that can make this community great. So I hope to retire here in the next 10 years. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Aaron, could you leave your contact information, your email and cell number with the clerk?
Please.
Thank you. Okay, one last time. Anyone else? Welcome. You're the 25th speaker today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I understand that this is an issue
Could
that...
you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. Yes. My name is Jonathan Milioti. I am I'm here expressing my concern because as I listen to the room, I wasn't planning on speaking today, but my thoughts are, I gravitate towards understanding the two families who talked about trying to raise a family in an environment where everything is so extremely expensive and trying to remain in the community that they grew up in. I grew up here. I'm actually a Shelter Islander, so I'm not a Bonneker. But I've lived in East Hampton for almost 30 years now, and I understand the beauty of this location. It has inspired me my entire life to live here and to return here. I now recognize that this is not an issue of wealth or the working class. This is a matter of just trying to exist and dream. And these families who are now going to be penalized, who have saved everything or inherited their family's property, who need to improve it, who need to increase the size, they're now being told their dreams are no longer possible because people who are concerned about the look of their neighborhood has impacted their lives. I think that that's a really unfair situation to put them in. And I don't think that the difference in size that you're speaking of is going to dramatically change the aesthetic of East Hampton over the long term. I think that the other consideration is affordable housing, accessory structures. You're asking these families who are stretching to buy properties to raise families, to not add space, but you're also trying to encourage them at the same time to add space to their homes to allow affordable homes for the working class community. If they're struggling to put rooms in their home to house their children, how are they going to use any additional square footage to provide accessory structures or accessory space for these working class community? I think that that's something that should be considered in this process. And I also think that the process of eliminating the potential income or resources for additional money to go towards things like the citizen center that some people were talking about earlier. If you diminish 1,000 square feet of buildability from a property, that actually ends up affecting the town's income. So if we can build 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet additional on these properties that are being redeveloped or built, and add that to more infrastructure and community services, shouldn't that be considered in this process? Does it just have to be about diminishing the size of a home on a piece of property and the aesthetics? Perhaps there's a board or review board that could be more thoughtful in how these homes are being built, but actually diminishing the size seems to be an injustice. Thank you for your time.
All right, now this is the very last call. Anybody else want to address the board? Okay, we're going to move on to topics. Jeannie, if you could come up and do bids, please.
Sure. Okay, I'll be short and sweet today. First, we have a notice on for today, an RFP for the Cantwell Court Affordable Housing. The RFP will be available on this Thursday. Next is accepting of a bid for the printing of miscellaneous forms. EOC Print is the apparent low bidder for that bid. And finally, is an acceptance of a proposal that we did for an RFP for the consulting services for continued remedial investigation of the airport Class 2 inactive hazardous waste site. And Rob Connolly will give the recommendation for that proposal.
Does anyone have questions for Jeannie?
No.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Okay.
Rob?
So Regano LLC, the town's outside environmental counsel, reviewed those submissions, and Regano is recommending that the town award the RFP to FPM as FPM is the most qualified of the bidders and has significant PFAS experience, has institutional knowledge with respect to that specific site, and has working knowledge of all regulations, requirements, and experience with the DEC personnel assigned to the matter. So they are recommending that the town awards the bid to the RFP, I'm sorry, to Regano, to FPM.
Great. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, I'm good with that. All right, beautiful, thank you. Okay, so now we're up to the discussion most of you folks are here for, and that's the gross floor area formula discussion led by Tyler Borsak, our principal environmental analyst in the planning department, and I understand Jameson McWilliams is here as well, who's the deputy town attorney that has been working with Tyler, and we've got Joe Palermo, our chief building inspector, here in the audience as well.
Can I just set the table a
Sure.
little bit of where we are? So this is the second presentation on gross floor area, the dimensional table update recommendation. We started this year, well, we started first with the updating, passing legislation that all COs must be updated at time of transfer. Then we went and worked on the purposes of zoning to update them to match what's in our comprehensive plans. And then the zoning code working group, and there are members here. John Whelan is here, Jane Meering, Denise Savarese. I saw Kevin Cooper, who's our ordinance inspector, and Joe Palermo, chief building inspector. Tyler is also a member of the committee, and Jameson is the an attorney who helps us write our codes. We had a discussion on gross floor area, on closing what we call the loopholes in the code. Those amendments have passed, with the exception of counting any part of a finished basement in gross floor area. And then the max house size in the town was reduced to 10,000 square foot, and a number of dimensional regulations happened at that time. And some corrections in the code that we always try to do, since the code is written over time and there's some sections that are difficult, make it difficult for folks to use who are in the industry, because some of them contradict each other. So we closed those up. At that time, folks who came to speak also spoke of us addressing the gross floor area dimensional table, and the board requested that the working group come back with this discussion. So we initially presented on gross floor area December 3rd, and now we're moving on. The board had questions and asked to see some comparable charts, and so that's what we're bringing back today. And I just wanted to frame how this discussion came about today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tyler Borsak, Chief Senior Environmental Planner in our Planning Department. Some of this presentation will look familiar because we've added to the presentation that we made on the 3rd. So Tyler, if you just want to go through the goals quickly.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll go through any stuff we've already talked about pretty quickly. So the working group's goals ultimately are to make sure that we're complying with the town comprehensive plan, that the code is consistent with the purposes of zoning, which the board updated earlier this year, and that we are compliant with the town's declaration of a climate emergency. And we'll go into that a little bit more in depth. A summary has already sort of been given, but ultimately, the town board was interested in looking at the formula after public comment. The working group then came back to the board with a recommendation of 7% plus 1,300 square feet. And then the town board asked for additional presentation and additional information, and as well as public comment, which you've certainly received. And then back to the goals. As far as complying with a comprehensive plan, that is the recommendation of the comprehensive plan is to protect the natural and cultural environment. And part of that is the character of the community and the existing development within East Hampton. Goal 2, which was the purposes of zoning, has to do with, again, character of the communities. Housing affordability, which is larger homes are less affordable to our middle class. And then town sustainability, which is larger homes require more energy. Those are fairly straightforward. And then finally, the declaration of the climate emergency, has, again, larger homes require more energy. And it's not just about where our energy is coming from, but reducing or limiting our overall energy consumption in town. And part of that is reducing house size. So we did discuss this last time as well. Ultimately, the purpose of this is to show that East Hampton is a town of smaller lots. More than half of the lots in town are in B residential zoning district, which is half acre, and 80% of them are in 1 acre or less zoning districts, A or B. 61% of all residential parcels are non-conforming to the zoning district minimum lot size. That could be for any number of reasons. Open space subdivisions would then make smaller non-conforming lots. They could be pre-existing non-conforming, but it just gives an idea of where lot sizes are, that they're ultimately smaller than the zoning district that requires them to be. And 37% of all lots in East Hampton are less than 20,000 square feet, 70% are less than 1 acre, and 90% of all lots in town are less than 2 acres in size. So those are the properties that you'll see the majority of throughout town are less than 2 acres. The working group's recommendation was 7% of lot area plus 1,300 square feet. This is what we discussed on the 3rd. A 3% reduction in lot area based formula, and then another 300 square feet off the top on the other end of that. And the way that formula works is the percentage really affects larger lots more, and then the flat number affects the smaller lots more. So you can tweak those depending on where you're trying to focus your reduction on. So what happened the last time the board looked at the formula? That was back in 2017. The board at that time had looked at a number of options. I actually presented back in 2016, at the end of 2016 about that. And ultimately the board came to the conclusion of reducing it from 12% plus 1,600 square feet down to 10% plus 1,600 square feet. That's the ultimately what happened. It affected larger lots more, which you can see on the next slide. You can see the reductions, the percentage reduction from the prior to 2017 code to the current code as it is today. Smaller lots were 5, 7, 9% reductions, and then the larger lots were up at 15% reductions in that neighborhood. So it really affected those larger lots more because they only reduced that percentage. They didn't reduce the other number.
Yeah, so just before you move on, I know we're all talking from the heart and from emotions. That's very important, but I hope that everyone takes a look at the numbers on the lot sizes, because I think that tells the story of more to me than saying a certain formula. So I think that the numbers of each lot size are something that I think we should take a good look at rather than just thinking of what a formula is and how that formula impacts the lot sizes.
Sure. The question is, how do we get to the end result before we want to go?
Right. So before the 2017 code, on a half acre, you could build a 4,000 square foot house. That was moved down to the current code of 3,600 square foot house, for example.
And what's counted currently as of the town board's newest decisions is essentially gross floor area counts the first and second story of the building, or third story if there happens to be one, which there are not many of. So all of those count towards your gross floor area. That excludes the basements, excludes attics, and spaces with a ceiling of less than 5 feet. And that actually changed back in the 2016, 2017 as well. Before they included anything below 5 feet. So just to give some history on that.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I wanted to make sure that this was included because this reflected the amendments that were passed just recently. And I wanted to make sure that it is articulated that basements are excluded from GFA. That was not included in that suite. And also the next bullet, Tyler.
So the board decided to include any area of an attached garage that's greater than 600 square feet into the gross floor area. That's to help sort of rein in some of that massing that occurs with an attached garage that could be 1,000 square feet or beyond. That should count to some degree towards the gross floor area of the residence, and the board decided that anything beyond the 600 square feet would be counted as on a one-to-one basis. You can't have a 600 square foot detached garage, so it only made sense that it wouldn't count if it was attached, but anything beyond that would then count. Additionally, the max house size was reduced to 10,000 square feet. There was the 600 square foot exemption for the attached garage we just discussed, and basements remain exempt from gross floor area calculations.
And again, these changes are effective March 1st, 2025. They're not in immediate effect.
So analysis over the years, new construction of house size continues to grow in terms of permitted GFA as currently measured by code. The average permitted new construction house size Gross floor area expanded 5.8% year over year to 4,034 square feet in terms of GFA. The average gross floor area house in 2024 of 4,034 compares to 3,380 square feet average seen in 2017 new construction permits. That's a 19.3% or 664 square foot increase in the average gross floor area from 2017 to this year. More than half, or 52% of new construction permitted so far in 2024 was for houses with gross floor area larger than 3,500 square feet compared to 47% last year and 40% in 2017. So we're seeing larger homes ultimately in the last, at least the last year and likely beyond that as well. Nearly 2/3 or 64% of all new construction building permits issued in 2023 and so far in 2024 indicate that a finished lower level living area is being constructed. There appears to be a 31% increase in finished lower levels to date in 2024 as compared to 2023. And in the last 2 years, over half of permits indicate a gross floor area of over 75% of the maximum allowable. So people ultimately are getting closer to that maximum allowable in the last year. So where are most homes being built? East Hampton, not surprisingly, is oftentimes the largest where homes are being constructed. It's the largest hamlet. Amagansett, Montauk, and Springs are all sort of in the same neighborhood, depending on which year you're looking at it. They vary, but they're often very close to one another. And then Wainscott, being the smallest hamlet, often comes in last as far as new home construction.
Yeah, what was interesting to me when we did this data is it's been pretty consistent over the years in terms of percentage. I was surprised by that, but it is consistent over the years, the hamlets that see the most development.
Yeah, it wavers a little bit here and there, but generally speaking, it maintains roughly the same. That's mainly a graph of how big each hamlet is. And then new construction based on lot size. Ultimately, this graph is showing that a lot of our construction, the vast majority of our construction, not unsurprisingly, is between a 1/4 acre and an 1.5 acres. Most of those lots that we discussed earlier are in that area, and that's where most of our new construction is going on, is in those 1/4 acre to an 1.5 acres.
Tyler, before we go on, could you just talk about what the 4/10 rule is?
The 4/10 rule is it's relief granted to smaller lots that are non-conforming to lot width. So if you have a really skinny lot, you're given relief under the town code. It should really be called the 1/16 rule, but it's called the 4/10 rule. The way it reads is that you get 4/10 of 4/10 of the lot width. So you multiply your lot width by 1/16, and that's what your setback is for structures, for your house, your shed, your garage, whatever you're constructing. So rather than needing to have a 15-foot setback, you may be allowed a 9-foot setback. So it gives relief to these small lots that have really non-conforming lot widths. It's a baked-in relief so that the zoning board sees less applications for strange-sized lots.
Still have to meet pyramid.
Still have to meet pyramid, absolutely.
And it's only for non-conforming lot width.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. It would have to be less than probably 75 feet, something like that, for it to make sense. So like the 60-foot lots you see in Beach Hampton, areas like that, those will get 4/10 relief. Some are 40 feet wide. Those are the size lots you're looking at. Very, very, very skinny lots.
The standard lot width is 100 linear feet
generally,
on frontage.
yeah, or 120. Yeah. When we discussed the next chart previously, essentially what this is showing is the usable area that is potential with the current formula that we were suggesting. It includes your gross floor area plus your gross floor area if you had an attached garage, your gross floor area if you had a basement, full basement, and then both combined. If you had a garage with a basement below it, those are essentially the usable space. Just to show that gross floor area isn't the end of it all, that there is other usable space that's not being included in that formula. And then this is we can skip this one because it's going to be on the last one anyways. And then this is something that the board had requested. This includes the current maximum allowable gross floor area based on lot size, and then a bunch of options. Well, the first one is 7% plus 1,300 square feet, which is what the committee had suggested, and then 100 square foot increments beyond that. So 7% plus 1,400, 1,500, and 1,600 square foot with that same 7% of lot area included. And that gives you a rough idea of what each formula would do to various lot sizes throughout town and what the max GFA would then be allowable.
All right, we're at the end.
Yeah.
So do board members want to comment on?
Yeah, this is obviously a huge one, and I think my colleagues will echo this. We've had huge communication again from the public on this. Obviously, the real estate industry has been very active in this conversation for a variety of reasons. I think, look, one can balance comments by some speakers today that, yes, that is how people in the real estate industry make their money, is from selling properties. But I don't think you can disparage what they're saying simply for that factor. As I do look through this, I think, a few key pieces stand out. One is that, I don't think there's anyone in this room who would challenge the concept that maintaining our environment, our physical environment out here to the highest quality is the driver of all industry, be it the tourism, the housing industry, no matter what. There has been significant public concern over the last few years via numerous meetings, addressing this and bring this to the board's attention. So, I thank my colleague Kate and the committee in bringing this to the board for consideration. I also appreciate the feedback we've had from the real estate and the building industries to say, this is where we see challenges. And thank you very much to the public speakers today, sharing your challenges as new homeowners on small lots and what this would potentially mean to you. I do think there's a need for reduction. Again, I think most people agree with that. Landing on exactly the right number is where this kind of comes in. There's a few pieces I would like to see in addition to what we're seeing today. If we could get a breakdown within the lot size categories as to what percentage of town properties actually fall into each of those categories. I think as we pass legislation, knowing which lot sizes very precisely we're going to impact is key. And I think having that breakout at a hamlet level would additionally be very helpful as well, because what we might pass, say, for Springs or East Hampton might not work in Montauk, where your lot size typically is very different. In terms of where I'm leaning on where the recommendation is and kind of where the pushback is, I'm typically always open to compromise on these things to find the best answer. But, just kind of looking through some calcs I did myself. So if you're talking about, every half percentage in reduction for lot size for GFA, it obviously impacts, that aspect impacts your smaller lots less. So if I'm talking about a 0.5% reduction on a 6,000 square foot lot, that's a 1.4% reduction on my previously allowed GFA, compared to if I go up to my 100,000 square foot lot, that's a 5% reduction on what I was previously allowed to build. Comparatively, your fixed element in this calculation, be it a 1,300 square foot allowance or a 15 or a 1,600 square foot allowance, that's where you're impacting your smaller lots more. So on your smallest lot, just every 100 square feet is equivalent to 1.7% of your buildable GFA. So, what is the right balance for us to strike in that relationship between the percentage point and the fixed square footage that we're allowing as GFA? If building industry and most people in this room are landing at 8% and 1,600 square feet, but the committee is landing at 7% and 1,300 square feet, I think there's room for compromise here at around like a 7.5% and a 1,500. But I'm not kind of ready to commit to that without actually seeing at a town level and a hamlet level what would be impacting from a kind of a lot percentage wise.
Yeah, Tom, I think that's a great idea. The only caveat I want to make on that is that we can't what's called spot zone.
No.
Whatever zoning we have to do, it has the comprehensive plan says it has to be based on lot size. And also we can't change it for a different hamlet.
Totally agree. I think the challenge is if you have a hamlet that has a very significant concentration of one lot size, passing a law with a fixed thing might disproportionately impact that hamlet. And I think we need to have the foresight when we're passing this legislation to take that into account and ensure that that community is aware of that impact.
So just tell me again so I can make sure we get it. Do you want to see breakdown percentage of lot size?
Yeah, so if we're looking at, up to 6,000 square feet lot size, how many properties in the town fall into that? How many fall into that category between the 6 and the 10, et cetera, to kind of, where's this going to impact? Because we might pass legislation for lots over 40,000 square feet, but we're really only talking about 2% of the properties. I mean, do you see?
So, and also you want to see that broken down by hamlet?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at you.
Oh my God. How do you see these numbers?
I don't see them anymore.
Do you want to go next?
So a question for the committee on there. You've heard this when we talked about the maximum GFA allowance, which, I disagree with the majority of the board on that one. As far as the large lot size, do we look at this zoning district instead of just straight across numbers for the entire township?
Yes.
And reduction, and how did that discussion go?
That's where we came up with the reduction to 10,000 square foot. If you want to see the data on that, I'm happy to.
Not to that, but like if it was the reduction to your GFA, for the percentage, then the allowance to do it per zoning district, if it was a B zoning compared to the A zoning, B zoning would take everything up to 40,000 square feet. Sorry, 20,000 square feet.
Yeah, I think that's on the chart, David, right? 20,000 square foot, 40,000 square foot. Where we were what we were trying to do was have a range, a tight range of percentage of change rather than a large percentage of change. We were trying to make it, if you look at the percentage of reduction for each number, what we were concentrating on was making it in the same range. So pretty much the same reduction for lots.
Sure, I understand what you're trying to do by the general goal, by doing the blanket numbers, but was there ever a decision of having a type of, it wouldn't be as much a sliding scale, but a different scale for the different zoning districts? Like a B zoning, if a B zoning wasn't at the same percentage and the same allowance.
So that's what Cray has just submitted, and we could take a look at that.
I think he submitted something a little bit different than that, but I just want to, I understand what the member of the public submitted.
Yeah.
But I want to just know what our recommendation. I would suggest
it's not based on zoning district, but lot size, but you're talking about like a sliding scale.
Not as much a sliding scale as just a set numbers for a zoning district.
So our comp plan says we have to determine the percentage of development by lot size.
Okay.
And that's why we go by lot size and always have in the past. That's written into the comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
I think it's back a few
That's where the change in
slides.
2008 came from, essentially. The comp plan
I
suggested.
think it's back a few slides where it actually said that. It said that in the 2017 legislation. It's on page 89 of the comprehensive plan, that we have to determine restrictions on house size by lot size.
So within looking at that would supersede then doing it by zoning districts.
Yeah.
Even though a zoning district is determined by lot area and lot size.
I think what David's suggesting.
So if I could just finish page 89, number 4, house size restriction, develop and adopt maximum house size restrictions relating house size to the size of the property rather than zoning district.
Okay. Because right there, I would disagree with the comp plan. I think what we're happening right now, the comp plan is a little bit outdated to where we're at. And I think a lot of our code is outdated to where we're at. And this is part of the process that we're all trying to assist with here then too. The comp plan back in 2005, which was probably started back in 1999, if you wanted to start the discussion on there, and where we're at in 2004 to 2024 right now, it's just not necessarily matching up on some of these. And in some which ways, being the decision maker up here, I would disagree with what the comp plan in 2005 is trying to guide me to exactly in 2024. Is that legally smart? Probably not, but it's just my opinion on there personally, because what we've seen is a dramatic change in the community right now, and we're relying on something that's decades old. Let me just move forward if you don't mind on there. And I think Ian, I don't know if Ian's well, I'm going to finish off if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So stay with me.
Okay.
I lived in nearly 22 different houses in the town of East Hampton. My dad was a builder out here. I lived in Springs on quarter acres. I lived in East Hampton and half acres. Nothing really above that because my parents couldn't afford it. I also lived in East Hampton Village on 1/10 of an acres. My family's house was in the back page of a local paper back in the day for when we increased our house, and it started a debate there. Try that one on me then too. So to the individuals that have been here in the previous discussions and your houses have been pictured on there, don't take necessarily offense to that. It's just a discussion point, but it actually personally happened to me and my family 20 years ago, maybe just a little bit less. I think we have to look at the overall goal and what the overall goal of what each individual board member is looking for here. I live in Tiffany Estates. That's a 50-year-old subdivision of half-acre properties in Springs on there. What we're seeing is changes there that are coming onto some of the neighboring subdivisions or just divisions of land, maybe not complete subdivision on there. As I mentioned earlier, I think one of the things that the town board has to do right now is make sure that we properly position the township and the residents for the next 20, 30 to 50 years. And this is what this code tried to do 8 years ago, and we're still here. I talked to a builder friend of mine. He already said, you're 10 years too late on doing this, but still we have to do it now. One of my biggest concerns is making sure that with the character of our neighborhoods changing, that each neighborhood in East Hampton is not the same. Fish Plains is different than Gould Street. Gould Street is different than Springs. Gerard Drive is different than Northwest. You have different zoning districts there. You have Wayne-Scott. You can keep going down into the lanes. Each little area has a different character of that neighborhood. And what you have to try to do is drive through them all. I pride myself on knowing the majority, if not the vast majority, of all the streets in the town and trying to go up and down them. And when I go onto a new street, I actually enjoy that because to be able to make a global decision on the whole township, I think you need to be a global leader and be able to make sure you go to all these properties. With that, my overall goal here is even when we started to discuss this, and I know, Kate, we mentioned this, in the past when we brought this up, I wasn't going to agree with this all. I look at it as members of the zoning committee and working group committee, and we understand that. I didn't then. The majority I do. Maybe I don't agree with this all right now, but I'm going to bring my own opinions and my own history to it. What my overall goal right now is to be very careful about what this allowances of massing is doing on these neighborhoods in a very, very select way that can safeguard the character of each neighborhood to the specialty that they have. And the specialty meaning, are they state homes? Are they small little properties in which residents live in? Are they old fisherman shacks that have been converted? By no means do I want to sit here and design your home for you and what is allowed for you to do. But what I do need to do is make sure that we don't lose that character of these communities. Go ahead and design the best you can. I personally think now, hearing from some of the public and listening a little bit more, that yes, I think a reduction in both the percentage and allowances would be there. But what I'm hearing loud and very, very clearly is something that my family's had to deal with recently. Good luck finding a bigger family in the town than myself right now, as far as my family of 6. It doesn't happen too often anymore. But if you do it, you need more space in your house. If not, that family's going to break at some point. I'm pretty close to it at times. So I've also been very successful to be able to have a house.
We put in a man room.
Yeah, well, that got taken away from me, the first child. So the house I was a half acre, and I need a larger house, live under 3,000 square feet. But I'm also fortunate to have a family house for my parents to come back and live in a 1,300 square foot house. They both have 4 bedrooms in them. So you design to what you need to do, but you also want to expand it and make sure you protect your investments into it. The reason I start to bring this up right now is about the zoning district on there. But it was simple as trying to bring back a zoning district in which you still kept the set number of the percentage, but allowed the zoning district to have the larger allotment of the smaller zoning district of B, or if you want to just decide on under 20,000 square feet. A lot of the concerns that you might hear from individuals trying to stay here who are the same as me. I'm doing the same exact thing you're doing. I suffer every day trying to pay the bills.
okay? But I'm working on it. I have a property, I do it, I'm trying my best on it. But what we need to try to do is protect that integrity of individuals that want to be able to stay here, give them an allowance to build or change the house for their growing family or their growing needs, but at the same time, not degrade the character of the neighborhoods. So that's why I was looking at the zoning district. Is that the easier way? I think a 7 and a 1300 right now is probably too straight across the board and bland. I think what you're going to probably be hurting is the smaller properties where you've heard this before when we talked about Cantwell Court. In Cantwell Court, we put a cap on it at 10%, the largest of your lot area, no addition, no, God bless you, no allowance on there to make sure that the houses in that affordable housing development stayed affordable in perpetuity. And I noted on that point is that by appraised value of the houses, a lot of the appraised value of houses go by the size of the houses. By keeping them not even artificially, subjectively smaller, we were hoping to be able to recapture them over time, which we haven't been able to do. Here, trying to work off that, I would like to be able to see giving a greater allowance to a smaller lot owner, but at the same time, be able to try not to change, allow for the larger lots to be able, if they're scattered into smaller subdivisions or areas in community, to be able to go too large. So that's what I'm trying to balance right now, trying to find a way to the middle of that. Personally, if I was on the zoning district, I'd probably say 7 and 16 of B zoning. A zoning, I would go down to 7 and 13.
So I think that is allowable, and basing the house size on the lot size. So you're not basing it on the zoning district. You're still doing the same thing.
That's why I was questioning.
So that's more of a sliding idea.
But I want to make sure that the public knows what my goals are, and also how the town board has looked at basements on there and taking that out of the GFA discussion. I had friends, we had these discussions on the beach, adamantly, respectively disagreeing with each other over cocktails. But at the same time, we got to that point and we listened into there. Right now, we're at the discussion where we have to take the measurable, in my personal opinion, again, a measurable changes within the GFA and the calculation on there. But I'm listening, I've heard, and I want to try to see if there's a better path forward without just going straight across the board and numbers reduction on both sides.
I'm happy to bring that back and any suggestions on numbers or a base number would be great. I'm gonna write down what everybody wants and then work with the committee to bring back what folks want. I just want to make clear a couple of things in terms of anything that we pass. Again, the amendments that we passed recently, they take effect March 1st of 2025. Nothing in zoning should ever take place immediately. And if you have a building permit, if you have a determination from a zoning board or a planning board, ARB, any of the boards, you are what's called vested, and those changes would not apply to you. So I want to assure people that are the young families that spoke today and then talked about being this far in the process, that there's nothing that would happen tomorrow to impact folks that are already spent money on planning. We're very sensitive to that, and that's not something that we ever want to do to folks, is just drop something on them that they have to change things by tomorrow. So that's one thing. The other thing, affordable dwelling units were brought up. Affordable dwelling units are exempt from any zoning changes. In fact, they're mostly exempt from zoning. So that's why you can build an ADU unit in your backyard. That's why you can build an affordable dwelling unit in your house. Those are exempt from any part of zoning, or else you wouldn't be able to do that. So I wanted to make that clear as well. The other thing, I think that's it. The other thing, John, I haven't lived in that house in years, but that house is 2,800 square foot. It would still be able to be built. I just have to say that on 0.63. Your house is bigger, but I love being your neighbor, and it's good to see you again. I haven't seen you in years. Okay.
Can I just, sorry, Madam Supervisor, just thank you for making that comment on the ADUs. I was going to bring that up too, and I want to use it as a plug for ADUs too. Like, look, if you are on a smaller size lot and you're looking to grow and the incomes are a struggle, ADUs are a great way not only to help the town address the housing affordability issue we got going on, but also generate some secondary income potentially for you as you kind of live and grow in that house. So thank you for bringing up the restrictions, Scott.
There's also a comment about accessory structures. Accessory structures don't go to GFA for your house. So just to clarify that then too.
Ian?
Yeah, I think that this has been a very good conversation for a long time. I'm happy that we're talking about GFA because I think the loopholes that we cleared up, thanks to Kate and the working group and contributions from the public, I think was very, very important. But I think now we're at the core of the issue, which is addressing the formula and house size. And I don't think we should overlook the work that has been done in terms of, the large houses we saw that were de facto 3 stories. We really have already done, I think, good work to make sure that some of what was perceived as the biggest abuses or the biggest loopholes, we've already closed up. And so I think we've made a difference already. But again, happy to get at the core formula here. My concern throughout this has always been sort of working class, year-round people, young people, families trying to make it. And so I'm incredibly impacted to hear from people who fear that these changes are going to negatively impact their potential. And I think we already have a crisis here of affordability. Unfortunately, I think as some people have pointed out, I don't think we're going to make, large scale difference in making properties more affordable here with the real estate market outside of our efforts with affordable housing specifically. But I want to make sure that we're not chasing anybody out with changes that we make trying to rope in sort of more wealthy, I think, abuses. So I think that the 7% in 1,300 after hearing from people is a little too much. Like Tom said, I think that there's room for compromise. I think it's important, though, that we had a group of builders, architects propose 8% plus 1,600. That's already less than what currently is. And so I think we look at what currently is, all the different options. I think Tom's proposal of 7.5 plus 1,500 is reasonable. I also think 8% plus 1,600 seems pretty reasonable. 7% plus 1,600, all of those options to me are worth looking at. I would like to reach out to some people who have emailed us or spoken about their particular situation because we just can't afford. I think some of this is emotion and our idea of reducing house size generally can be we can feel pushback against that. But I want to get down to the details of how it's impacting specific situations and what that really means. So I think that 7% plus 1,300 is a little bit too far. I favor adjusting the percentage more than the as of right allowance because the percentage is going to have a slightly larger impact on larger houses where it's more of a luxury as opposed to just being able to house your family and live your life. So yeah, I'm sort of in that range of 7 to 8% and 15 to 1,600. I'm sorry that I don't have. This has been a pretty in-depth conversation. This is our second pass at it, and I thank Kate and Kathy and everybody for bringing it back so quickly because we identified the issue. We might as well start talking, but it's going to take me a little bit of time and some more conversation to really figure out what's right here. It's a big choice. We need to, I think, address house sizes, but I really don't want to hurt working class local people who, probably live on the property they will for the rest of their life as long as they're in East Hampton.
Thank you, Ian. So I want to thank the working group for all the work that they've done and all of the analysis. This has been quite helpful. I went back and I looked at page 11 on the PowerPoint because I was on the board when we did the last code change and reduced the GFA. And back then on a quarter acre, we reduced it 7%, on a half acre 10%, and on an acre 12.5%. And when I look now on page 20 at what's being recommended, and I did say at the meeting 2 weeks ago that while I respect the recommendation of 7% plus 1,300, I'm not looking to reduce house sizes on quarter acre and half acre lots by 23 and 25%. For me, that is just a bridge way too far. I think what I would personally like to see is the working group, do an analysis. I'm more in the camp of 7% plus 1,600, but still on a quarter acre, that's a 12% reduction. On a half acre, it's a 17%. And on an acre, that's a 21% reduction. I'm not sure that that's still not too far. I look at what the, I know it's now called the Larry Kane formula. It is, and on a quarter acre, that's an 8% reduction. On a half acre, 11%, and on an acre, that's 14%. So I would actually like to see that laid out all the way, the calculations. And I'd also like to see Craig's formula of 6% plus 1,800, because that is looking at the smaller lots, because I'm very sensitive to the comments that Liz Miller made today and Sean McKee made today. These are young people we want to keep in our community. We want to see their families grow and thrive here, be our volunteers. And so I think for me, that's where I think the discussion should go.
Yeah, so I'll just wrap up and say we'll bring this back, and I hope everyone stays engaged. I'm going to say the same thing I always say. We do our best work when we hear from everybody in the community. So those watching or your friends and neighbors, please also bring them forward so we can hear from everybody in the community. That is our best work. And I really thank everyone for taking the time out, to folks who wrote to me, who I responded to, kind of in a mass email. I just wanted to make sure everybody saw the presentation. I hope we continue this dialogue with the community and that you all stay engaged. And again, bring your friends and neighbors, help us get the word out. It usually, we find that we don't hear from folks until we're actually at the public hearing stage. And it's so much better for us to develop a plan with you than to try to just come up with what we want to do. And we all want to do what's best for the community. That's why we sit here, to be able to do that before we get to that public hearing stage, so we can kind of get the kinks worked out before we're at public hearing. And so I thank you again, everyone that showed up. And again, I'm just going to say this one more time. We tend to talk about this industry and that industry, whatever we're talking about. It's not just this, but the responsibility for what happens at the town, how development happens, how anything else happens, it lays at this table. And we're well aware of that. It's not any one particular group. So I just want to say we're all one community, and we all work best when we work together. So thank you very much for coming.
You want to take a comment?
I can take a couple of comments after the discussion. Jane, did you want to speak?
Thank you for this discussion.
I just want to let LTV, we're going to go back and take a couple of speakers. Jason.
Okay, sounds good.
If you could put the clock back up. Thank you.
Clock up, clock down.
There we go. All right. What is just, okay, great. There you go. You're on.
Okay. I'm Jane Meering. I am a resident of Amagansett. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I'm also speaking as a member of the Amendment Working Group. I am not speaking as a member of any appointed board. And I'll also say today, I'll introduce myself. I am a small homeowner on a small lot owner. I don't know if this is going to clock to my time, but as a member of the working group, I just wanted to address a couple of the requests for data and just say our working group, the very first big data analysis we did was exactly, Tom, what you're looking for. We looked at every lot size across, in real granularity, across hamlets, across residence zones. So that's all there. We'll be able to get that. The issue, Councilman Lease, on zoning districts, we've also broken lot sizes down across all district. And just one of the things, I think you know that overall 61% of all lots in town are undersized relative to their district, but I think in the in the B zone, 53 or 55%, 56% of the lots are undersized to the B zone district, and it's a little more than that in A. So we
Yeah,
can
but
get
there's
you.
also a large percentage of those that are actually non-buildable because they're.
Sorry, I couldn't
There's a
hear.
large percent. There's a percentage of those that are non-buildable because they're actually either preserved or owned by the town or not.
No, we excluded, in all our analysis, we excluded all the preserved lots. So anyway, so I just, if you'll cede me back the minute on that. But, I just want to talk a little more on small lots. It's a tough balancing act, as you know. It's something we worked on because on one hand, it's 70% of all the lots in town. And so anything you do could have far-ranging repercussions. However, it's 70% of lots in town, and it is the epicenter of extreme maxed out development going on. And that is also anathema to keeping people in this town. It is obliterating our economically accessible housing stock. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to deliver all this data to you, but I took a sample set of 252 small lots, an acre, half acre less. And they're for sale now or have recently sold. So it's real things. And I got the GFA of all of them, and I won't go through it all now. But bottom line, on average, the average size of a house on these existing lots, small lots, is 1,409 square feet. And under the new code, the proposed code, which will probably not sounding like it's going to be the new code, but the upside on average is just under 90%, or almost 1,000 square feet, and half of those under 7+13 would have upside, again, not including basements, of between 1,000 and 2,000 square feet. So, the attempt here was to try and really dig in on the question that you've talked about, regular person, blah, blah. So it's not as simple as hearing a one-off, sort of anecdote. So I'm going to get all that data to you. And if you want to ring the bell again, I'm not an angel, so I will not get wings. So thank you for the great discussion today.
Would anyone else like to address the board on this topic? John?
John.
Welcome,
Good
John.
morning. Good morning, members of the town board. John Whelan.
Oh, it's 1:10, so we're
Oh, okay, good. I could tell some jokes for a few minutes. Oh, there we go. So I am John Whelan. I'm a lifelong resident of East Hampton, and I am also on the zoning amendment work group, and I'm very pleased to be a part of that group. I just wanted to make a very quick comment that I hope when the public and the town board is looking at all of these percentages, and I know there's going to be a lot of variables, and I believe it was the Greeks who said in the middle stands virtue. So I think we're going to get to that virtuous spot at the end of the day, hopefully. But just very quickly, as two examples, my point here is that I hope we all remember that when we have something like on a quarter-acre lot, we have, pardon me, on a quarter-acre lot, we would be with I'll use the proposed 7% plus a 1,300 square feet. We would end up getting a 2,062 square foot house, GFA, above ground. And as well, we could have on that lot, we would also have the basement. So if it were a single story 2,062 square foot lot, and these days we know that almost 40% of the people are building out, which is great, are building out the basements for media room, family rooms, that sort of thing, bedrooms with proper egress, et cetera. So I just hope that the board and the public understands that when you do come to the formula and you get something on a quarter acre, 2,062, you can actually have over 1,000 square feet of usable space below you. And as well, you can have a 600 square foot of attached garage that doesn't count, which is just a lot of space. And whether you want to use it for cars or bicycles or whatever. And again, the last thing would be even that example on a half acre lot where you're coming up and you're getting a 2,824 square foot lot with the 600 square foot usable space for the garage, that gives you 3,424 square feet. And then with a basement, if it was a single story house, you could have a 1,524 square foot basement. That brings you up to 4,948 square feet, including this includes the basement and the garage on a half-acre lot. So I just hope that the public understands that maybe some of what we are presenting seems very restrictive, but when you include all of the usable space and what people are building these days, it's not as severe as it appears. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Would anyone else like to address the board? Sean, you want to come back up?
Sorry, Sean McGee again. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for the effort you've put in. Looking at some of the charts from before, while the percentages may look as though they're in line, in my opinion, you are going to feel the restriction of 2,000 feet down from 2,600 square feet to a much greater degree than you will reducing 9,600 square feet to somewhere in the high 7,000s. I don't think those two things are comparable. We're talking about the difference of extra bedrooms for children compared to a ping pong room or a room for a pool table or rooms that are never used. Additionally, the idea that basements are not included only benefits those who have more recent or bought houses that have been built more recently. If your basement is not at the current height up to code, not calculating the basement does not benefit older homes that were built previously. So again, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up and move on to the next topic. Eric, I don't know if Scott is here. Wilson?
I don't believe Scott will be coming, but I'm Eric Shantz, the Director of Housing for the town, and I was just going to ask whose glasses those were. So, there you go. So I'll run through a presentation in a second, a brief PowerPoint. But basically, the 72H program is a part of New York State law.
Are we looking for Scott?
I asked him to be here.
I don't know if he's going to be coming, but I think I know all the details. So,
just one moment. I'll send a message.
And I can go through the presentation too.
Tell jokes?
Yeah.
John. It's a joke, John.
Do you want me to proceed or?
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, 72H is a section of New York State law. Basically, what it does is it allows local municipalities to obtain properties and then transfer them either to another local municipality. I see Scott right outside right now, by the way. Transfer them to local municipalities or private owners, generally for the purposes of providing affordable housing. They will allow a transfer for various other purposes, but really the only other exception being open space. But let me just call it a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll go through the details of that. Yeah, that's sure. Okay, sure. Let me just do this. Just make sure it's going right. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. What page? I think it's right here. Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It should just advance too. That's fine.
Just tell me when you want it.
Okay. All right, so sorry for that. But basically, from time to time, Suffolk County acquires various properties where the owners of record have failed to pay their taxes. Oftentimes, those are also owners that can't be found, whether or not they be the heirs of a trust or something of that sort, where the county actually has a difficult time tracking down the individual or individuals that are the owners of the property. The 72H program permits the county to auction off these properties and sell them to local municipalities, as I said, and really the purpose of the program is for affordable housing. Local municipalities are most commonly required to cover the cost of back taxes as a purchase price. These prices are often relatively low in comparison to open market real estate values, or as you'll see with some of these properties, very low in comparison to those. Properties are transferred via quitclaim deed, and the next owners need to perfect title. Suffolk County normally requires that the intended use be memorialized and transfers the deed with conditions. Again, usually that's for affordable housing. They have their own income threshold, a number of other specific requirements. And then you'll see on the slide, that is the section of New York State law where the 72H program can be found. It's also memorialized in Suffolk County law as a separate program. Thank you.
So before we go on, there was one of our public speakers, was Mr. Buddha, brought up that, you know, these properties were part of an auction and were sold. And so could you just explain the process as to why it looks like we are looking to purchase sold properties?
Yeah, you know, it was rather interesting because the county invites you to basically a webinar when they put these properties on for auction. Each individual who is interested in bidding on those properties has to basically create an account with the county, deposit money into that account.
Page 2, Anne Marie, one more back, please.
Page 2, okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
And sit through a webinar just to learn how the bid process works, how they would bid on those properties, et cetera. The county was very clear throughout those webinars that just because you make this deposit into this account, bid on those properties, win the bid, there's no guarantee that the county will actually transfer that property to you. It's made clear from the outset that this exact situation could be an eventuality. It turns out in this instance that it has become an eventuality, so the county has offered each of the towns within the county who had a property on auction, not just East Hampton, Southampton, every other town within the county, those properties were offered to the townships for the upset prices that were set at the time the auction was announced. So if that answers your question.
Right. And the reason we have an after hearing resolution today, because we typically don't like to work that way, is because we've been given a deadline by Suffolk County.
Correct, yes. You have 30 days to act or pass a resolution, basically committing yourselves to the acquisition. If that time elapses, you will no longer have that opportunity, so.
And our date is, we have to let Suffolk County know
20th,
by
yeah.
12/20.
That's right,
Right,
yep.
by Friday.
All right, thank you. No, sorry, thank you. Accurately and way more succinctly than I probably could have summarized that. So, yeah, please. So with that in mind, the county reached out to us with 5 individual properties. You'll see them listed here. I will go through slides for each of those properties with some basic information, an aerial showing you where they're located, but bottom line too, you can see that the total cost of all 5 of those properties is about $500,000. So obviously these are properties that are being offered for significantly less than what you would anticipate on the open market. So with that, the first property, thank you, is located on Garfield Avenue and Greenwich Street in Montauk. What you can see there is a far distance aerial showing the property. It's just to the east of the Montauk Downs, just to the west of Lake Montauk. That property is roughly a half an acre. It's Zone B residence. It is currently vacant. This is the one of the 5 that we're hoping to acquire for open space. Again, this came up through the 72H program for affordable housing, but a lot of times when these lots come up, you realize that it really isn't feasible to develop them for affordable housing. In the case of this property, it's encumbered by wetlands, and it also neighbors existing open space. So we are looking to acquire this property for open space purposes. And you can see on the bottom right there, the asking price is almost not even $6,000 for that property. So the next property is located on Two Holes of Water Road in East Hampton. It's nearly 6 acres, zoned A5 residence, is within the Water Recharge Overlay District. It's currently vacant. We intend to use this for affordable housing. It is contiguous to existing open space, though, as you can see on the aerial. And just to give you a little bit of, to orient you a little bit here, This is the 2 holes of water pond there, and then this is where swamp comes into 2 holes of water road. So all the way up there in Northwest. And the asking price for that is $100,000. As I say, the intention would be to develop this property for affordable housing. Right now, the zoning on the property permits 1 single-family residence, but obviously there's an option there with the amount of land that's available.
Can they make the screen size slide a little bit smaller? Because we're losing the last bullet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just there's a way to full screen this, but I always forget it. An easy way to do it. That's not the way to do it. Just give me
There is
one
a little
second.
slider.
Yeah, sorry about this. Let me just. I need to zoom out. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, that should work. There you go. Sorry about that. So the next property is located at Harbor Boulevard and Park Street, which is technically, it's within Springs. I know it says East Hampton here, but it's within the Springs School District. So just a minor correction there. Property is not even 1/4 of an acre, so it's a relatively small lot. It is Zone B residence. It's currently vacant. Again, this is another lot that we're looking to develop for affordable housing. Really, this is going to be 1 single-family residence. It is actually within an urban renewal map and represents 1 complete piece or parcel within that urban renewal map. So it is complete in that sense and an otherwise buildable lot. The asking price for that is $75,000. The next property is located on Town Line Road in Wainscott. It is basically just south of the boundary of Sag Harbor Village, but right on, as the name suggests, the town line. That property is 7.7 acres in size. It's zoned A5 residence. It is within the Water Recharge Overlay District, currently vacant, as you can see on that aerial, and also another one of the 2 larger properties that we intend to develop for affordable housing. The zoning right now permits 1 residence. However, if the town board did want to pursue additional homes on that lot, there is, in theory, the possibility to do that if we go through the appropriate channels of rezoning and subdivision. It is contiguous with existing open space, but again, the intention here is to use it for affordable housing. As the board knows, there are not very many large lots that are available throughout the town and at a reasonable price. And I would certainly say that $100,000 for a property that size is a rare opportunity. And then the final property is one that's located at 31 Cedar Street. And I apologize, I would have given specific addresses for all of these properties, but in fact, the 4 previous ones do not have specific street addresses, but this one's 31 Cedar Street. It's located in East Hampton. What you see on the bottom aerial here is a little bit of a zoomed out view of it. This is North Main Street. This is where Cedar Street intersects. This is the emergency services building. So right sort of in the middle of that, or right on the edge of the sort of North Main Street business corridor. Property is 0.4 acres, so almost a half an acre. Zone B residence. It has a single family residence on it currently. However, that is in terrible condition and needs to be removed. Again, the plan would be to replace it with really 1 single-family residence. There might be an opportunity to do a duplex or something of that type. But really right now, we're really just anticipating removing the derelict structure on the property and replacing it with a new single-family residence. And as I pointed out on the aerial, it's a great location. It's near a downtown. It's near employment and goods and services, and also very close to the emergency services building. So there may be an opportunity to coordinate with emergency services there is actually part of the legislation of 72H that says that all of these properties must be made available to veterans. There's similar legislation that relates to emergency services people. Doesn't say that it can only be available to them, but it says it must be made available to them. So this property is $225,000. So obviously, like I said, we still need to remove a home. But even at that high price in comparison to the other properties we're looking at, that is still a great deal for a property of that size and significantly about half of what we encounter in terms of just land value alone for a property of that size in our home ownership program. So a great opportunity to provide at least an additional 1 unit of affordable housing. So with that, obviously the town board should have a discussion about this. As Scott had already pointed out, you do have a deadline of December 20th. So basically, if you're going to pass a resolution committing to the purchase of these lots, you would have to do it today or on Thursday. And there is a resolution on today's agenda to do exactly that. That is not the end of the line, though, as far as the public participation portion. You would need to hold public hearings for the acquisitions, have post-hearing discussions, and then ultimately make a choice on whether or not to acquire these properties.
So this is not the first discussion we've had on these. This has been multiple times the town boards actually tried to complete these land deals with the county. I think it's the closest we've been. I want to personally thank Ed Romaine, the county executive, also and Sarah Lansdale and their offices for working with the town, because I think they understand the dire need for affordable housing out here, and by working with the township.
Yeah, Scott, if you could just discuss, because I know when I first got on the board, we purchased 72H properties for back taxes. Then there was a policy change at the county. You could go into that, and now where we've landed under County Legislator Romaine. County Executive.
I personally don't fully grasp why they made the change, but yes, when I first started here over 20 years ago, it was regular practice for the county when they took properties for back taxes to offer them through the townships first for their full investment, which is whatever the back taxes is, plus some, minor in-house costs. So things were $5,000 or less, and we routinely acquired them. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, there was a property that the town had paid for 5 years preceding that. And so, after 2008, when the stock market did not do well, there was a big push at the county, a questioning as to why the county would allow these properties to slip through their fingers and not do the auction process, because all throughout this process, it was basically twofold. They'd either offer them to the municipality if the municipality didn't want them, or they didn't fit in with our current goals at that time, they would then put them up for auction. So the auction process is longstanding. It's been ongoing this whole time. But they hadn't offered us 72H opportunities until this last sort of, decade. So I don't understand completely what the shift was. I'm glad and excited that they are coming around to re-offering these properties, to the town. They're being offered now. They have to be approved at the legislature after we adopt a resolution saying, committing ourselves to the interest of these properties. We have done this. This is probably our 4th time on several of these properties trying to acquire. Since before 2015, we've been trying to acquire these. I'm hopeful we're going to be successful this time. We're sort of dependent on, the county legislature to agree and recognize the plight of affordable housing here. I also want to point out too, and you didn't answer this question, but I just wanted to harp on it a little bit, that in the resolution that you're going to be discussing later on today, while we are pursuing 4 out of 5 of these for housing purposes, they do come to us via quitclaim deed. So it is incumbent upon the town to actually perfect that title and to ensure that, we can work with the lending industries and have the ability then to, remarket them for affordable housing purposes. If in the eventuality we are not able to perfect title, we've also requesting through the county that we still be able to retain these properties for open space purposes. You may have noticed that some of the properties happen to already be accidentally colored green. A little presumptive on our part. Everything that is owned by the town, the county, Peconic Land Trust, Nature Conservancy, it automatically gets a green color. It appears as Parks and Conservation, that isn't so. So if there's any confusion on that, they aren't or shouldn't be green.
Okay, and I think the other thing, I don't know if we've stated, is that, and it's in the resolution, the funding source that we're looking for that one parcel on Garfield and Greenwich for just under $6,000, that would be CPF.
Yeah, right. So we'll go through the normal public hearing process. So we'll have to do the scheduled public hearing, and then resolution post that meeting.
Right.
For both housing and CPF.
Right, and then the 4 parcels that we're looking at for affordable housing and single-family homes would come from the Community Housing Fund, and this has already been brought to CHAB, even though, it's been a tight timetable since the county advised us of, okay, you have till December 20th, go. So it's been a challenge, but I know that CHAB has had an opportunity to review these parcels. So do board members have any other questions, comments?
Yeah, on the heels of our GFA conversation, I think we all expressed, how important it is to have affordable housing opportunities and preserve our community. As a housing liaison, it is such an honor to be in that position. And I think the commitment this whole board has shown to affordable housing. It's a difficult problem to solve, for sure. The CHF funds are very exciting. And I think that, as David pointed out, the county has proven to be a very willing partner. And I think that's, a great deal of credit goes to Supervisor Burke Gonzalez for building relationships. And, my first year on the board here, I'm very excited to sort of make these inroads, and I think that these 4 opportunities at a very reasonable cost is great and super exciting. I also want to, as Supervisor Burke Gonzalez said, this comes up very, very quickly. The process was sort of, seemingly convoluted, frankly, but still, given the opportunity, we want to jump on it. CHAB, Andrew Garvey and CHAB, on less than a week's notice, they meet tomorrow, but because of the constrained timeline, we have to have a resolution ready today. They were able to review these properties and sort of give the go-ahead, as they do with anything that is, involves the Community Housing Fund. So very, very excited, and I'm very supportive of all the work. And thanks to Eric and Scott, too, for shepherding this through.
Great. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, you wanted to talk about lithium batteries.
I do, yeah.
Chief Fire Marshal here, Dave Brown.
Welcome,
Chief.
Thank you, Supervisor, for putting this on the agenda. Obviously, we're in the gift-giving season, and I think a lot of people are going to receive items that have lithium batteries in them. It's a growing part of our daily lives, and while it delivers many benefits, there are also some challenges associated with them. Most critical of which has come back to me from the fire commissioners and the fire chiefs meeting is the fire associated with lithium-ion batteries. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our Chief Fire Marshal. David, you can take it away.
All right, excellent. Good afternoon. I'd like to wish everybody a very merry, fire-safe Christmas and holiday season. I'm here to talk to you guys again about lithium batteries and fire safety with lithium batteries. I'll try to keep it under a couple hours.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so by the end of the presentation, I'm hopefully gonna be able to impart on you people at least 3 different types of behaviors that'll help prevent lithium-ion battery fires. How many people here have a cell phone on them? Everybody, right? We're surrounded by lithium batteries. All right, the horror of it all. We've had them in our pockets in our houses for years. We're going to be in our house for years to come until the technology changes, which is changing at breakneck pace. You have lots of other devices in your homes, your cordless phones, cordless vacuum cleaners, cameras, watches, all kinds of stuff in your homes. Your cordless tools, drills, power saws. They're around us all the time. We've got these lithium batteries everywhere. Okay, slide. Any of these lithium batteries can overheat and catch fire. if they are used incorrectly, if they're stored incorrectly, if they're abused and such, they can become a danger. Okay, and we want to talk about these things to prevent them. Okay, now understanding some of these fires, they're particularly dangerous due to several factors: the thermal runaway, from damage, from overheating, from freezing, from various different maladies can affect these batteries. When they do catch fire, they're hard to put out. They cause toxic gases. Some of the gases within that is actually oxygens in that, and it will burn and keep burning. We put water on it, it creates its own gases, it keeps on burning. Even if we put the fire out, they can still be heating up and heat up again and reignite. So they're really dangerous to have around when they catch fire. To put them out, we can use our fire extinguishers, our ABCs that we have everywhere around. Will help put them out, may not put them out totally. Carbon dioxide fire extinguishers. What else do we have here? The foam fire extinguishers. And for my scientists, people who are into science or metalworking, never use a Class D fire extinguishers. That's what we use on magnesium and metals that burn. Okay, so we don't want to use a Class D extinguisher. Not many people have those around, so I'm not afraid of anybody grabbing too many of those. Okay. What are the materials that in the chemistry of these batteries? They're designed. Each battery is designed differently. Like the batteries you have in a power tool are going to be designed different than the batteries you have in a cell phone. Cell phone is designed to give low amounts of power for a long period of time. Your batteries and your tools are designed to give lots of power over a short amount of time. So they're a little bit different. They contain other common materials like lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, titanium, and graphite, and that flammable electrolyte. And that's what burns, that liquid that we see. If we see something leaking, that's usually that electrolyte that comes out, it's leaking. There's questions about how hazardous these are and what materials that do come out of them or leak out of them. Many of the electrolytes will evaporate away, and what is left up is a dried mess and can usually be thrown out at the dump. But we're going to talk about that too. How can I identify products that have lithium batteries in them? Slide. A lot of them are going to have that sign right there, that lithium ion with three chasing arrows. Might not say Li on, but it'll have those three chasing arrows. Look at your manufacturer's specifications in some of your devices, and it will tell you exactly what you have. Okay. Safety tips. Next slide. Purchase devices that are listed and by a qualified testing laboratory, like UL Laboratories, CE Laboratories, making sure that they are reliable and they are safe. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions. Only use batteries designed for that device, of course. Check them, make sure what we have. Try to use the same cord that you bought the device with, that came with the device, or replace it with the same one. Again, I talked about temperatures for the batteries too. Don't charge them below 32 degrees and don't charge them above 105 degrees. And you should probably store them in conditions that are not below 32 or above 105. Store batteries away from where anything can catch fire. And I know I do this habit. I always charge my phone overnight on my nightstand, but some of the recommendations are try not to charge some of these things overnight, your power tools. Charge them during the day while you're awake and around. Unplug them at night and unplug them when they are fully charged. Okay. Signs of a problem. Stop using these batteries or the devices. Smell a weird odor, a burning odor, or strange odors. Change in color of the batteries or terminals. Too much heat, heating up, it's getting too hot. Change in shape, bulging, showing you signs of bubbling, leaking, odd noises, crackling, sparking, anything like that. Look for these signs of problems. Okay. Disposal of lithium-ion batteries. We can't throw these out in regular, normal household trash. What we recommend or what we want you to do is save them for the stop days. And say, well, what should I do with them to keep them around, without disposing them? I got to wait for those 2 days. what we recommend is that you make the batteries as safe as possible. One of the problems is the terminals, like we see in the next slide, is like the 9-volt batteries, and the terminals are exposed. If you ever see those, and if you touch those batteries, those terminals across, they could heat up, short out and cause a fire. So what we recommend is put a piece of tape over the terminals, any kind of electric tape, non-metallic tape, even Scotch tape, throw them in a baggie, throw them in a paint can, empty old paint can, not with paint in it, but an empty can, something that metallic, and store them outside before you can throw them away. Don't, just don't throw them all, 3 or 4 of them in a bag, or throw them all in a pile. They can heat up and will cause a fire. Let's see, we just had a fire last week at the town recycling center that we think it was a very small fire. We think it was due to a lithium battery. It was on the tipping room floor, and as the bucket loader was picking things up, it hit this battery and broke it open, which caused it to do that. It started charging it, which caused that little bit of a runaway. The small battery, luckily, they caught it early, and it wasn't a big fire. But that's the danger of just throwing them out in the regular trash. Okay, so to keep it pretty close, pretty short. Okay, in conclusion, lithium batteries are all around us in the products we use every single day. Laptops, stuff, we got them. And they're susceptible to fires if misused or abused. Dropping them, leaving them outside, overcharging them, charging too much, leaving them in the heat or the cold. Again, stay away from off-brand markets, deals. Don't go searching up off-brand batteries. We recommend that you use the batteries from that manufacturer that you bought this device from, and make sure, again, they're UL rated or CE certifications. Keep them out of the extreme temperatures, dampness, and watch out for signs and problems. The too hot, noises, bulging, or order, and dispose of properly. Okay, any questions on the lithium battery?
Just one thing, Jerry, the stop days for 2025, according to the sanitation department, will be Saturday, the 14th of June and Saturday, the 8th of November. Both in East Hampton. Both in East Hampton.
Excellent. And a couple other things real quick. Make sure you water your Christmas trees, keep them wet. I don't want to see needles dropping. And when the branches start to snap, that's when you know they're getting too dry. Make sure you're changing your batteries and your smoke detectors and CO detectors for the holidays. Candles, watch your candles. Everybody loves candles over the holidays. Don't leave them unattended. Always stay in the room with them. When you go out, blow out. Keep your combustibles, your wrapping paper and presents away from the fireplaces and space heaters. And don't overload your plugs and outlets. Please have a fire-safe holiday. I want to stay home in bed all weekend. I don't want to come out. So.
I do have one question about the lithium batteries. If there is a problem, say it's bulging or something like that, I've found personally, I know Staples and various people will take these back, but they don't want to take something back that is compromised. So I don't know what our policy is as a town. If on stop day they would take something that is damaged, because in personal experience, I couldn't find anybody to do it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I always say I know a little about a lot, and a lot about a little. I'll look into that and find out for you. But
Great.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Nobody's going to want to touch it when it's bulging.
That's what I found. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it home.
It's interesting because Joe was talking about presentation possibly, and that was kind of brought up in that meeting as to what are evolving technologies out there for managing lithium battery fires, both on a small and a large scale. It is challenging because, the water you use to fight them becomes severely contaminated. So there is equipment out there that can recycle the water in small containers, and whether that's something the town maybe wants to look, or the fire districts maybe want to look at kind of purchasing down the line, I think is something that we should take under consideration.
Yeah, and just more and more, I think we all encourage, electric devices for environmental reasons, and that's great. But I just want to make sure that we're prepared for when those batteries are compromised, that we know or can give people guidance on what to do.
I compare this to yesterday's leaded gas, because it was bad and we didn't know what it was doing to us. And this stuff now it's new technology, and it's still in its early stages. It's still in the leaded gas stages. Yeah. It's going to get better and better as we go along, and as new technology comes along, it's going to be safer. So just have to go through the growing pains and be safe.
Yeah, I think it's also great, we take it, they've been around for a while now, they're not new, so, especially cell phones, so we really take it for granted. I mean, the slide that said, don't, charge it on a pillow, a couch, I mean,
Yeah.
where else would you charge it? So just really not taking it for granted, because it's been around for a while as well.
Absolutely. Other questions?
We're going to have you back more often, Buzzy.
Thank you very much, David.
Really helpful. Thank you.
You have a few more minutes in you?
We do. So next up, we have Gloria Frazee, who's going to give us an update on the East Hampton Compost Program for 2024. Who did you bring?
I brought my own decoration.
We had known, we would have gotten you a command hook.
'Tis the season, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Rewild East Hampton Community Compost, Gloria Frazee, rhymes with daisy and bolognese. We'll get that down soon. Last time we came before the town board, East Hampton High School students.
Hey, Gloria, can you just bring the microphone to your mouth a little bit more?
Thank you for the reminder.
Hey.
East Hampton High School students Sophie Riva and Stella Brecker filled you in on the Rewild Long Island Summer Internship Program, including their work with East Hampton Compost, Share the Harvest, and the pollinator gardens that they maintain in East Hampton High School and Matthews Garden. This summer, the 20 interns contributed more than 1,000 hours of community service.
Wow, that's incredible.
Here they are at the compost drop-off. High schoolers are great at engaging and in educating the community. They are professional students. So, do high school students really want your food scraps? Really? Stella and Andrew even wrote and performed a song called We Want Your Scraps, but they made me promise not to show it. So. We did have students from East Hampton High School, Pearson, and Ross participate. Composting was so popular, we had to cap signups for the summer interns. They are so into composting that Sophie Riva and a group of students are launching a composting program at East Hampton High School. What do they know? They know that by the time they're my age, East Hampton might be an archipelago of 5 islands, given projected sea level rise. Food waste is the single largest component in our trash at about 24%, and growing and manufacturing, transporting, and disposing of food uses huge amounts of energy and water. More than 37% of all water used in the United States is for food production, and then there's packaging. They know that there's a price tag to waste. In East Hampton alone, we throw out about $20 million worth of food annually. Plus, there's the East Hampton Recycling Center sanitation budget. And all of that detracts money from their own education, from infrastructure for the town. We've all heard our parents say, eat your vegetables. Veggies get their nutrition from the soil. Next slide. There we go. Okay, thanks. So veggies get their nutrition from the soil, and they pass it on to us. They're always pulling nutrients from the soil, and we have to replace into the soil what we've taken for the cycle to continue. The high school students also know that when we look outside these windows, we see trees and abundant plants. Shout out to Change Hampton for that beautiful garden. What we don't see is all the life in the soil. Soil is not dirt. It's the organic matter that produces food and habitat to the zillions of organisms that unlock nutrients in the soil so plants can access them. Rich soil means rich in organisms. A handful of soil contains about 5 billion microorganisms that make the soil work, that make the cycle work, and produce healthy vegetables and keep us alive. So why compost? Compost is amazing because it increases the amount of carbon that the soil can trap. There's tons and tons of, there's a lot of of carbon dioxide trapped in the soil, actually more than there is in the environment. And that's what we're looking at when we look outdoors. It reduces waste. It produces high quality soil. It improves water retention to reduce irrigation needs, so we have to water our lawns less. It decreases our reliance on chemical fertilizer. So we don't need to buy chemical fertilizer and produce it and use all of the resources that it takes to do that. It increases crop production and plant growth. Plus, go on. Oh. Oops, yeah, keep going. Forward. Oh, yeah, sorry, this has every page. Yeah. Okay, sorry, okay, this was the handfuls of soil food. Okay, go forward. There's everything the compost does. How cool is that? Next slide. Next slide. Oops, this is an old one. Keep going. Yeah, oh, this is an old one. You didn't get the new one.
Oh, I don't know. It was loaded on here already. So
okay, well,
this was there.
Plus, we have fun. Keep going. We'll get there. We have a lot of fun. Next one. Oh, dear. Well, everyone can compost. Next slide. Everyone composts, from people to puppies and families. It's amazing how the kids take up composting and get their parents to do it, their families to do it. Next slide. Composting is a win-win. Next one. Some preconceptions, specifically by people who don't compost, say it's smelly, it attracts rodents, it takes space, it looks icky, and it takes way too much time. Next slide. But we've got solutions to keep scraps from smelling, keep them cool or even frozen. The picture you're not seeing is a picture of a compost sickle. Frozen compost, it's a thing. Next slide. And scraps are easy to store and don't take much space in containers like these. These are our kitchen bin experts. Next slide. Composting is about caring for our community. It's about education and people participation and bringing people together. Next. Accepted items include mainly produce, fruit and veggies, also loose leaf tea, eggshells, green and brown leaves. Next slide. Not accepted items include plastic, especially those gosh darn produce stickers that are everywhere. We don't take those green compostable bags. They've got some issues about actually breaking down. And or bio bags, fats, oils, grease, all that stuff you can read on our website. Next slide. Oh, this is the eco table. Whether you focus on sorting scraps or dive deeper and get into soil science, each of our actions makes a difference for the health and sustainability of East Hampton. Next. One of those produce stickers. Next. Sorting, yes. In addition to fabulous high school students, a growing number of community volunteers rock East Hampton Compost. Shout out to Marianne Eddy, Christine Leffler, Sue McGinty, Ann Eiper, Allison Landon, Judy Caputo, Joni Schilling, and Mark Cox. We're increasing the number of people who are volunteering throughout the community. Next slide. Drop-off locations, we doubled them in 2024 over 2023. We also included, last year we started July through September, and this year we ran the drop-offs May through October. The Montauk location is thanks to Christine Leffler and a pair of East Hampton High School students, Maya Taveras and Griffin Beckman, and also the participation of local organizations like Concerned Citizens of Montauk. We all come together, we all make this work. Amber Waves is in conjunction with their CSA pickup, so people go get their CSAs, they learn about composting, and they bring back their scraps the next week when they pick up their CSA. Expanding into more locations really builds awareness and participation throughout our town. Next. Next. Yes. We've an expansion with more volunteers has enabled East Hampton Compost to offer 2 unstaffed drop-offs, with 1 going year-round. If you're interested in participating, email me. You notice I do not give the locations because you gotta go through me. You gotta make sure you're doing it right and doing the proper sorting. Next. We added a pumpkin drop-off. Yay. That's great. And we already have started working on a pumpkin smash for next year. Safe.
Is that like the rage room?
Sorry? The rage room? Like the rage No. It's kids seeing how far they can toss pumpkins, bowling with pumpkins, pumpkin tack-toe for people who can't bend down. We're working on this, hopefully at Amber Waves. Fingers crossed. Next. So we are composting at the East Hampton Recycling Center. There's Jonah and Abe, Craig Fick, and who makes Compost Magic, and intern Max. Next. Also composting at Balsam Farms. Thank you, Ian. And yes, that's my 20-year-old little BMW transporting food scraps. If you've got a pickup, we sure could use your help. Oh, next. And next. Yes, we scaled up. We had a 56% increase in participants, 242% increase in scraps by weight, and a 260% increase in the number of drop-offs throughout the year.
That's some number, Gloria, for 2024.
Yeah. So in 2023, we had 385 drops. In 2024, we had 1,391. So yes, and that means we could create a lot more compost. Next. 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 Our goals remain the same as they were in 2023. Education, participation, community support, and diverting food waste. Next. Here's our progress on the 2023 wish list. We've got more drop-off days and locations. It's not 24 hours a day, but it is year-round. We are looking at schools and helping the East Hampton High School with their program. Would love to do curbside pickup, and we are working on home solutions. So we are working with some companies who do kitchen counter recycling, and we are looking at our goals for 2025. Next. We're looking at more drop-off days and locations, year-round locations, schools. Oh boy, funding from town, especially help from the town grant writer would be really, really helpful, because there are grants available out there, and donations. Rewild Long Island is a nonprofit, and this program is free to all participants. So we operate on a shoestring budget, and we need some funds to grow. We're adding another way for people to participate. That is the backyard composting crew. The goal is to encourage and educate people about backyard composting, help them get set up, and support them along the way. The idea with Rewild is to do a pilot in East Hampton and then spread it throughout Long Island. Next. Next. Okay, great. More important than funding are volunteers and participants. Maybe you've been wondering about the wreath. Historically, It symbolizes the cycle of seasons. It also speaks to the ways our actions impact the cycle of life and the sustainability of our community. Each of us plays a part. Rewild, East Hampton Compost, and speaking for the town board, we'd like to invite everyone listening in the audience to play your part and compost. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Gloria, you're such an example of an idea that, someone comes in and says, makes an appointment and says, maybe we could start a pilot program. And then the way that you've grown it and what that impact, just that germination of an idea had is something that is inspirational to us all. And I really want to thank you for all the work that you put in, Gloria. It's a passion. And you're really helping our town in many, many ways.
And thank you for your help, Kate and Tom specifically. Oh, and Ian and, everyone, Kathy and David, just fabulous. It is important. We just need to really, really, really scale up now. So the idea of the pilot was to start small, show that we can do it. We need to be working on the scaling now.
Yeah, it's such a good concept, and the truth is it's not hard to do. It's a habit. Okay, so you have a little container on your kitchen countertop. If you understand the scraps that can go in there, you can keep a large sealed container on your deck or just outside your house. And then you have a spot on your property where you actually do your composting. I mean, to me, that is the lowest carbon footprint for how to manage your compost. But we're going to need different solutions to effectively do it. But that's definitely one of the goals I want to work with you next year is how do we get households doing this? Because that's really where you're going to make a huge difference.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you, Gloria. So that wraps up all of our topics for today. So we are now on to liaison reports.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Amagansett Advisory Committee will have their next meeting February 10th. There will not be a meeting in January. Sanitation, we will all be getting a lot of, well, if you've been good, you'll be getting a lot of gifts hopefully this year. But just a reminder, please recycle. It's good for your taxes. It's good for the environment. Look, every ton of mixed paper or cardboard that we recycle, we get back, $50 on the ton for that. So it's, if it goes into non-recycling, it costs us $119 a ton. So do your bit for your own taxes. Get out there and make sure you recycle as you hit the dump. The recycling center. Human Services, just a reminder that the Senior Nutrition Program will be closed between December 23rd and January 2nd as everyone there takes their vacation. Business Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. TIC Advisory Committee will be meeting 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. Disabilities Advisory Committee will be meeting on the 20th at 1:30 p.m. And Emergency Preparedness, we are rescheduling our meeting. It was scheduled for the 26th this month, but that will now be pushing into January. Just last, anyone who's out there who has interest in joining any of my or any of my colleagues' committees, please do feel free to reach out, as we've seen today, and many with much of the good legislation we passed this year. Community involvement is key and critical, and we thank you for it. We thank you for your time. And, if you have interests and that align with one of the town committees, please do reach out to myself or another town board member to show your interest. Thank you.
The Nature Preserve Committee met last week. We are discussing a proposed management plan for some of the newly purchased properties on the Gerard Drive or the Cape Gardner area. Also part of that is we are almost finalizing a draft to be able to send to the town board for changes to Chapter 182. I know we've discussed it in the past. We'll bring that forward. In collaboration with state parks have started to fell trees on 10 feet along the promised land that commenced last week. Currently, there's just under about 300 trees removed so far. The understory removal near Bayview Field Break, as discussed earlier, has been delayed by weather. That continues to move forward. A couple updates here. Second house update, they are actually painting as of last week. So that project is getting very close to completion. I know we had the president of the Montauk Historical Society here. It is another great project that we're working on and get that into their museum very shortly. I know the board has gotten information about another request on that same property, and just let me know your comments on that whenever you are able to review. The Montauk Playhouse update, they are moving forward. The supervisor and I did a tour of the facility last week. Steady progress is on there, and they're, I believe, starting the digging of the second pool as they back their way out of there. So that's steadily progressing. Abraham's Path Comfort Station update. We're getting some final designs onto that location, also about converting the current storage, current bathroom to storage, which will save some money and also allow for greater amount of storage for recreational and buildings and grounds needs. I want to let everyone know also that there's currently a whale drifting in that peak area right now. The Atlantic Marine, New York State Marine Mammals and Sea Terminal Hotline. You can contact them if you have any further information. If you ever see Scott, he's texting me, an injured whale, dolphin, seal, or turtle. East Hampton Town Marine Patrol is working with New York State Parks, DEC, NOAA Fisheries in response to the deceased humpback whale that is in the surf near the Nepean State Park. They'll continue to monitor that. Long Lane roundabout update. They are still working with the grubbing of that area, so that has moved forward, but it's been a little bit delayed based on some of the moving of the utilities and also the weather recently then too. The SLIPS Committee, also known as the Harbor and Docks Review Committee, is meeting tomorrow to go over multiple different actions, one of them including a long-awaited redo to the town's Montauk Bottomlands leases on there. So I'll have that discussion in January. A lot of that information is going to lead to potential code changes or policy decisions of the town board. So to get ready as we move forward to summer 25 in that season, if we can get that on maybe for January, I'll bring that back. Let's see here. We are discussing the inlet dredging and the Army Corps of Engineers project on there. I've been in contact with a Coast Guard commander from Coast Guard Station Montauk. There has been multiple touchings of bottoms by commercial fishing boats recently in that area then too, and I've relayed that to the Army Corps of Engineers. They've also heard from from Senator Lulata's Congressman Lulata's office on the subject on there, as that inlet's continuing to shoal up, and we would like to work without haste on trying to move that project along, if not even faster than the typical duration that they're looking to do in the fall. So just to give everyone that update, we're starting to hear from some of the fisheries that they're touching bottom. As we are all here during the holiday seasons, I want to let everyone remember our wonderful organizations are in the town of East Hampton. I know a lot of individuals donate to those community organizations such as Rewild and others that might be there then too. But as we are in the season of giving the holiday seasons, let's please continue about volunteerism and also charitable donations to our volunteer organizations, because they are a bedrock to our community and also the fabric of our community. So with that, I thank you, and I wish everyone the happiest of holiday seasons.
Thank you, David. I just wanted to add one comment on the whale, because there's often misinformation that goes out there about this. There will be a necropsy done on this whale, so let's not jump to assumptions or post misinformation prior to that necropsy being done. I think it's important.
That is correct.
Ian? I'm sorry, Kate.
Yes, thank you. Board members and the public will notice that there is a resolution on for hiring the services of L.K. McLean for the ditch dune restoration project. That is for permitting. They will pay some of the required fees up front and take us through the permitting process. We are now coming down to where we're ready to put in the formal permit after consultations with the DEC. We're also continuing our outreach to impacted property owners, and that project is moving through the permitting process as fast as possible. We also had a meeting with the New York State grant partners for our $600,000 Department of State grant for resiliency for Montauk. The The part that we've been working on is there's actually a contract between the town and the state that eventually will bring before the board and for the supervisor for signing. That's been a back and forth collaborative process with our state grant managers. We're at the end of that process, and we'll be able to bring that for a presentation in front of the town board in early January. That's the update on that. Yesterday, the Energy and Sustainability Committee had their last meeting of the year, and I had emailed you all this morning what we talked about at the last meeting is that on Thursday, there'll be the final public hearing on adopting the energy roadmap into the town's comprehensive plan. We've come a long way since the original climate action plan that was developed in-house to this robust, aspirational, and also practical pathway to achieve renewable energy, clean energy by 2030 in the town. This was developed with the consultants, members of the Energy and Sustainability Committee, Sam Klein and Kim Shaw. Now that we have that roadmap entering into the final stages to get adopted into the comprehensive plan, we were looking at the goals and the legislative intent of the Energy and Sustainability Committee, which was really focusing on one topic, which was energy and promoting information about the climate crisis, information about renewable energy opportunities, solar programs, et cetera, in the town. But as we move forward as a town and we see work like Gloria Frazee, who just presented on composting and is the secretary of the committee, I proposed to the committee that we evolve into a sustainability committee so that we can broach larger topics of sustainability like food waste, transportation, the built environment, water quality, preserving water, et cetera, all the ideas of what sustainability is. Part of that comes from looking at all the young people that are coming to work for us in planning and natural resources, and that's what their degrees are in, sustainability. High school students are having a more overall view of looking for a sustainable future rather than focusing on one topic. So I proposed a evolution of the committee into a sustainability committee for 2025. Overwhelming support and excitement from the committee, including Aubrey Peterson, who is a liaison with the high school, to broaden our topic, create partnerships with nonprofits in the area, kind of get out of our silos about these topics and realize that everything is interconnected in our world. And for a more sustainable future, let's work on a more global issue. And we can invite folks with these expertises, folks that have projects in the town, to present to the committee and then also the town to help educate us as we move forward into this idea of sustainability. I've sent that around to everybody on the board, and I look forward to hopefully your support on that move. And that's what I have, besides also wishing everybody a safe and wonderful holiday with family and friends, and also your pets. So I wish everybody the best for 2025, which I can't even believe we're saying that number.
David's already talking about the 2025 season. He's got us in summer.
I know. Moving so fast.
Yeah.
Season? Tax bills were mailed out today. Due January 10th, so keep an eye out for those. You can also find your totals and copies of the bills online. If you go to the town website, there's a tax receivers tab with a lot more information, but just to give you some brief information, the payment options are available online. You can pay at the office, you can pay right online, you can do it in the mail. There's Dropbox here at 300 Panago, where the tax receiver's office is, at the Montauk Playhouse, and you can even pay at Dime Bank. So there's a lot of options there. Just make sure you pay on time, January 10th. CHAB meets tomorrow at 5:30 to go over the first year of CHF funds and RFAs and get ready for next year. The Property Management Committee has a subcommittee meeting to talk about the Dodge Property Management Plan tomorrow at 4. And then speaking of committees, as I've said the last couple of liaison reports, if anybody out there is interested in serving on any of my committees, which include CHAB, the Community Housing Advisory Board, Ag Advisory, Springs Park, Property Management, or the Springs CAC, please reach out. Don't be intimidating. It's not an overwhelming time commitment. Really looking to sort of broaden the number and the demographics of people that volunteer for things like that, and especially younger people. So please reach out to me. And if you're not interested in any of those committees, but just think that we as a town should be looking into something that you don't think that we are, please reach out. I know that I'm open and everybody on this board. As Kate said today, you know, we do better when there's more input from the public. Along those lines, I think David mentioned volunteering. I know all the fire departments out here are quickly aging and losing membership. So I think if people live here and want to give back, I think volunteering to fire department, it's work, but there's great communities out there. I know the Springs Fire Department, Amagansett Fire Department well, and everybody's looking for volunteers. Lastly, the spring signs I mentioned last liaison report, the Welcome to Spring signs, they have gone up on 3 Mile Harbor Road in Springs Fireplace. They look beautiful. I thank Steve O'Brien and Tony Lippman who built them, and Dave for his help as a liaison to the Buildings and Grounds. The last sign is going to go up soon, which will be someplace on Accabonac. I don't know if any board members have opinions about this. The Springs line is the northwest corner of Accabonac and Abraham's Path, but then on the other sides of those streets, it's not Springs. And so the placement of this last sign is something I'm contemplating now, whether it goes probably someplace near that intersection, but welcome input. I've reached out to the Springs CAC, also board members. Kathy, I know that you and Kate were previously the liaison, so if you have thoughts about that, please let me know. But beautiful signs, so the Spring Hamlet can be, or Springs Hamlet rather, can be very, very proud and welcoming to all of our visitors.
Thank you, Ian. So as folks know, last week we announced the dedication of the Stephen Hans Path Recreational Facility in honor of retiring New York State Assemblyman Fred Thiel. And unfortunately, due to a green mass of rain over the map here on the South Fork, we had to cancel the dedication. So we just ask, please stay tuned. I'm not sure we're going to get it in before the end of the year because I know folks' holiday schedules and will be out of town. So Becky is working on a new date with Fred's office. Tomorrow, board members will all be at the ribbon cutting for the green at Gardner's Point, which is exciting. It's 15 new affordable homes, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And so that is on for tomorrow at 11. And then just to remind folks, save the date, the organizational meeting is Thursday, January 2nd at 11 a.m. Last Friday, Tom and I were on a Zoom call with Assemblyman Thiel, with State Senator Palumbo, as well as Assemblywoman Jody Giglio. That was to discuss the South Fork Behavioral Health Initiative. And we got a recap from Stony Brook Hospital on where things stand. We also heard from school districts and Family Service League. And, Family Service League has increased their staffing. They now have 2 full-time bilingual therapists. One is spends the day at East Hampton High School 1 day a week, and she's also at Harriet Hillman's practice a day a week. They have 2 groups running. One is a social skills for adolescents for 14 to 18-year-olds, and the other is a youth anxiety and depression group for 10 to 14-year-olds. So that is something that young people have been taking advantage of, and they're starting a new group in 2025, and that's a parenting group that's going to be run in Spanish, and it will provide psychoeducation for parents struggling to understand and navigate behavioral health services here in the U.S. So Family Service League has been a great partner, and this is done every year by our state legislators because they're working in anticipation of the 2025 budget and what the ask is going to be in that budget for both the South Fork initiative, and a few years later after we started, the North Fork has a similar program, and it's been a major success. So that's what I have for today. I'm going to hold off on my happy holidays until our last meeting of the year, our officially last meeting of the year, which is this Thursday at 6 o'clock. I understand, I think we have 9 public hearings. This is when we're going to be doing a lot of hearings for first-time homeowners, for the, how we're going to spend the community housing fund money, the programs when we went out for RFA, and as Deputy Supervisor Rogers mentioned, the energy roadmap you had mentioned, that was also on. So our last meeting is going to be a long one. So please join us. So now we have some resolutions. Tom, if you'd like to start us off, please.
Thank you. Yes. Resolution 2024-1533 is to amend Resolution 2024-1518. This is to change the date of the Montauk Plunge from January 5th to now occurring on January 12th, 2025, with a contingency date of January 26th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2024-1534 is to amend Resolution 2024-1478. Whereas the previous bid was erroneously listed November 21st, 2024, it should have been listed November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 1535, which is to approve an expenditure for the Litter Action Committee. This is resolved that Christine Ganich will be reimbursed in the amount of $177.50 upon proper submission of vouchers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to let everybody know the next, I believe it's 6 resolutions. I'll be making I'll be reading them with an amendment to the resolutions, and the amendment will be to add the street names, the locations for each of these parcels. They were inadvertently left off. So I'm going to start with Resolution 1536. This is to accept security and undertaking, 58 Bayview Avenue, LLC, Urban Renewal Parcel 8 in East Hampton 16. This is the applicant is, this is where pursuant to New York State urban renewal laws, the town board has adopted urban renewal plans governing the development old filed maps within the town, specifically to roads and drainage. This is whereas the listed undertaking and security have been reviewed by council to the planning board and council to the town board and approved. Resolved that the undertaking together with the following security are hereby accepted by the town. 58 Bayview Avenue LLC, located at 58 Bayview Avenue, East Hampton, New York, care of Larry Kane at 54 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, New York. Map 730, Section 1C, Block 5, lots 123 through 129, including part of Hemlock Place, urban renewal parcel in EH-16, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-114-1-4, and it's in the amount of $41,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have to do second as amended?
Second is amended. I apologize.
No worries. Resolution 2437, this is accept security undertaking for 60 Bayview Avenue LLC, urban renewal parcel 9 in East Hampton 16. And again, this is pursuant to New York State urban renewal laws, as the previous one was, and this is for the timely construction of roads and drainage. And whereas the listed undertaking and security have been reviewed by council to the planning board and council to the town board and approved, therefore now be it resolved that the undertaking together with the following security are hereby accepted by the town. The applicant is 60 Bayview Avenue LLC, located at 60 Bayview Avenue, East Hampton, New York. It's care of Lawrence Kane at 54 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, New York. Maps 730, Section 1C, Block 6, lots 130 through 136, including part of Hemlock Place and part of Bayview Avenue, urban renewal parcel 9 in EH-16, tax map number 300-114-1-3, and again, this is for $41,500.
And was that amended as well? Because I have the address on my.
It's that's the name of the LLC.
Okay. Second is amended?
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution number 1538 is accept security undertaking for 62 Bayview Avenue LLC, urban renewal parcel 10 in EH 16. And again, these properties are contiguous, so this is whereas the listed undertaking and security have been reviewed by the town council to the council to the planning board and council to the town board, resolved that the undertaking together with the following security are hereby accepted by the town. And this is for 62 Bayview Avenue LLC, located at 62 Bayview Avenue in East Hampton. This is care of Lawrence Kane, 54 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, New York, map 730, block 1C, block 6, lots 137 through 142, including part of Bayview Avenue, part of Pine Place, urban renewal parcel 10 in EH 16, tax map number 300-114-1 1 and 2, and again, this is for $41,500.
Second as amended?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1539, again, is to accept security and undertaking for Ellen Hunter in urban renewal parcel 23 in SP-6. And just let me get this address. This is, again, pursuant to New York urban renewal laws. The town board has adopted urban renewal plans governing the development of old file maps, whereas the listed undertaking and security have been reviewed by council to the planning board and council to the town board. Now be it resolved that the undertaking, together with the following security, are accepted by the town. The applicant is Ellen Hunter, P.O. Box 1059, Wayne Scott, New York. The property is located at, 33 Harborview Drive, East Hampton, New York, map 365, block 14, lots 1 through 20, including part of Travalto Avenue and Montgomery Avenue, urban renewal parcel 23 and SP-6, tax map number 300-94-7-1.1, and the security being released is $14,500.
Second as amended?
All in favor?
Aye.
And next one is resolution 1540. This is to release security in urban renewal parcel 8 and SP-2-1, whereas a report has been received from the town's consulting engineer approving road work in certain renewable area. Resolved that the following security held by the town board is hereby released. This is the applicant is Tuckaway Homes, LLC, care of Zach Allentuck at 81 Newtown Lane, number 272, East Hampton, New York. The property is located at 26 First Street in East Hampton, New York, urban renewal parcel 8 and SP-2-1, map 499, block 3, lots 9 through 16, tax map number 300-75-2-12.9, and this is in the amount of $16,500.
Second as amended?
All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly of these, I have Resolution 1541, release security for urban renewal parcel 183 in SP-4-2, whereas a report has been received from the town's consulting engineer approving the road work. Resolved that the following security held by the town is hereby released. The applicant is Brooklyn Timber LLC, care of Joel Halsey, Lighthouse Land Planning, P.O. Box 5030, Montauk, New York. The parcel is located at 42 Lincoln Street, East Hampton, New York. The parcel is 183 and SP-4-2, map 16, block 34, lots 27 through 34. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-95-4-21.1, and this is 2 separate checks, but the total amount is $22,500.
Second as amended?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2024-1542 is the completion of probationary period for police officers Eric Cobb and Joseph Riccardi. Eric Cobb is hereby permanently appointed to the position of police officer, effective retroactive to August 2nd, 2024. And Joseph Riccardi is hereby permanently appointed to the position of police officer, effective retroactive to October 9th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1543 is to accept the resignation of a part-time police officer, Daniel Sanchez, effective retroactive to December 2nd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1544 is authorizing 5 personnel to attend the lifeguard system surface ice rescue technician level 1 class, and the financial impact is $975.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
1545 is the Suffolk County land acquisition via the 72H process. This is what we heard today with Scott Wilson and Eric Shantz. This is to acquire 1 vacant parcel of land owned by Suffolk County for open space purposes at Garfield Avenue and Greenwich Street, Montauk, approximately 0.46 of an acre, for the offer price of $5,922.80, and to acquire 3 vacant and 1 developed parcel of land owned by Suffolk County. The one is, first is on 2 Holes of Water Road, East Hampton, approximately 5.8 acres. Upset price is $100,000. Second, Harbor Boulevard and Park Street, East Hampton, approximately 0.18 of an acre. Upset price $75,000. The fourth is Town Line Road, Wainscott, approximately 7.7 acres, upset price $100,000. And lastly, the 31 Cedar Street, East Hampton, that's a developed property at approximately 0.4 of an acre, upset price $225,000. And give me a second. And the financial impact is $505,922.80.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2024-1546 is to authorize interlocal agreement for PSAP services, and this is with the Village of East Hampton for the dispatch of police and fire radio communication systems.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Back to you, David.
We are happy to offer resolution 2024-1547. This is a notice of RFP for EH 2024-106. This is for the Cantwell Court Affordable Housing. This is for proposal are available December 19th, 2024, and due back February 6th, 2025. Any questions, please contact the purchasing department at 631-324-4141.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. 1548 is termination of a 2024 Parks Department seasonal employee effective 12/4/2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a resolution, a motion to withdraw resolution 2024-1549.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I have resolution finally 1550, which is to retain LKMA Professional Engineering Service for the Ditch Plains Dune Restoration. And LK McLean Associates has submitted the attached proposal to the town dated December 4th to provide services for permitting and bidding processes for the dune restoration project currently being designed by Coastal Science and Engineering. And the financial, the cost is not to exceed $9,400.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a resolution to go into exec session?
Yes, I'd like to make a resolution to go into executive session for CPF, advice of counsel, litigation, and real estate.
And personnel.
And personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and thank you, LTV.
2:34 right now.
What do you guys say?